Right, good morning.
Yeah, their speed day.
My device. That's all. From Sweden. Oh, that's okay. Okay, you should, yeah. All right, good morning and welcome to the Nevada State Board of Pharmacy September 2025 meeting. Today is Wednesday, September 3rd, and our meeting will now come to order. My name is Helen Park and I'll be the presiding officer. We'll start with the Board of Pharmacy mission statement. In regulating the practice of pharmacy, the Nevada State Board of Pharmacy has a duty to carry out and enforce the provisions of Nevada law to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Next, we'll do our roll call. Mr. Adam Porath.
Here.
Mr. Richard Tomaso.
Here.
Ms. Crystal Freitas.
Here.
Ms. Anna Carr. Here. Ms. Shanice Taylor.
Present.
Ms. Jade Jacobo. Jade is not attending.
Madam President, Jade had contacted me. She'll be attending tomorrow, but she will not be attending today. But I think that it was good that you call her just in case, because you never know.
Great. Well,
If Jade, you do join at some point, let us know and we'll mark you as present.
we do have a quorum present, so we'll go ahead and continue. Mr. Weiss, any announcements?
I think several, sorry, Madam President. First of all, I can confirm that there's always a technology issue no matter what. So we've experienced a couple today already. The board meeting will be held in conformance with the open meeting law. For the public that are on Zoom, they can look at whatever view they choose. For the public that's in person, if somebody's testifying or presenting anything, they'll be on the screen next to you to the left. Board members can see the people on Zoom in front of you as you usually can. I'd like to thank the board staff. Obviously, everybody knows that the state's had some technology issues. Todd, for your help in this meeting and continuing with the state's business, and the board staff, everybody, Yen and Darlene for pitching in and making sure we were able to have this meeting today in conformance with the law. I also note that we have a past president. Yeah, I said that without even thinking about it. Kirk Wentworth, and board member Kirk Wentworth from Carson City, is here joining us today. I'm sure we'll have some on Zoom, but I don't know where they are. And with that, Madam President, I'll turn it over to you. Oh, one other announcement. I think that we're going to have hopefully some public comment related to regulations that we're doing workshops for tomorrow. I'll remind the public that the time to do that would be tomorrow. If you have just general comments, when Madam President opens up the public comment, that would be time to give that. Thanks. Oh, Melissa Shake's here too. I talked to Melissa, but forgot. Thank you again. Melissa Shake, previous board member. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Weiss. All right, as our next order of business, the board will open up the floor for any public comment. If we have anyone in the room who wishes to make a public comment, please come forward. Or if we have anyone online or on the phone who wishes to make a public comment, please raise your hand on Zoom or let us know through the chat function. All right, it does not appear that we have anyone in the room who wishes to make a public comment. Do we have anyone online? Okay, so with that, we'll close the period for public comment for now. There'll be another opportunity at the end of the day today as well. So our next order of business is the approval of the meeting minutes from our July 2025 meeting. Board members, any discussion on the minutes? They looked fine to me. I had a chance to review and comfortable with the minutes.
No discussion. I move to approve.
Crystal Freitas, second. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Porath, a second by Ms. Freitas. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. The minutes are now approved. And then next we'll move to the consent agenda.
Madam President, I'd like to separate item 4AAA so that I can recuse myself on that item.
Okay, we'll note that. And then Ms. Freitas?
Yes, so Crystal Freitas, for the record, I would have to recuse myself from item 4YY, the ER at North Valleys, due to my employment.
All right, we'll note that as well, so we could probably take those two separately. Any questions or comments on the remainder of the consent agenda? I think everything looks in order.
So Crystal Freitas, I'd move to approve the consent agenda with the exceptions of items 4YY and 4AAA.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Freitas, second by Mr. Porath. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. All right, so we have 4YY. I'll make a motion to approve 4YY.
Second.
Second by Mr. Porath. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. And for the record, Crystal Freitas has recused herself from that item. And then we'll move to 4AAA.
So Crystal Freitas, I'd move to approve consent agenda item 4AAA.
Okay, Helen Park, I'll second that. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. And for the record, Mr. Adam Porath has recused himself from that item.
Madam President, can I make one more announcement? Sorry, I'm out of order, but for the public that's on Zoom, as a courtesy to you, we have posted in the chat a link to a Dropbox that contains both the agenda, if you needed it, and the workshop language for tomorrow, because we know people will be interested in that. So just wanted to do that extra little thing because of the website issues. And so you just click on that link and it'll take you to the to those two items. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Appreciate you making that readily available to the public. All right, we will move on to our regular agenda and we'll start with agenda items 5B and 5C. That's for McGuff Compounding Pharmacy Services, Inc. and McGuff Company, Inc. So if representatives, please come forward.
Ed, are they appearing today? Are they coming? Have you talked to them? Are they coming on Zoom or in person?
I can't for the record. I prosecuted this matter. Bridget Kelly's counsel for the respondents in this matter. I had assumed that they would be appearing either virtually or in person for because we have a STIP to present.
Oh, looks
I
like
see Bridget. I see Bridget.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Bridget.
Can't unmute.
You're unmuted now, Bridget. Is there
Unmuted
anybody else
now.
with you?
Okay.
Is there anybody else
Sorry.
with you?
No, it's just me, representing McGuff Compounding Pharmacy, Bridget Kelly with New Tile Law. And I apologize, I was looking for a way to raise my hand or something. I didn't see it, but.
All right, I'll turn it over to Mr. Cant.
Once again, Brett Camp for the record, prosecuting this matter on behalf of the state. These are case numbers 23-070-PH-O and 23-070-WH-O. Respondents McGuff Compounding Pharmacy Services Incorporated, pharmacy license number PH 01563, and McGuff Company Incorporated, wholesale license number WH 01300. The charges in this case begin on page 3363 of the board book, and we do have a stipulation to present for your consideration and possible approval this morning. That stipulation appears beginning on page 3418 of the board book. So by way of brief background, the charges are brought as a result of discipline entered against respondent McGuff Pharmacy's pharmacy permit and sterile compounding permit in the state of Nevada by the California State Board of Pharmacy. That discipline related to violations of both federal and California law related to compounding drug products. The stipulated settlement resulted in the voluntary surrender of the respondents' pharmacy licenses in California, and this corresponding discipline was brought. In regards to the stipulated settlement, in part, the charges against McGuff, the McGuff company, the wholesaling operation would be dropped, since they're not immediately relevant to the issue of violating compounding laws and standards. And with regard to, respondent McGuff Pharmacy, there would be three elements to the, stipulated settlement. One, because the pharmacy did not renew its, pharmacy license, that expired license would be revoked pursuant to NRS 639.2551D. Secondly, respondent shall pay a $5,000 fine. And third, the respondent shall pay $1,000 to partially reimburse the board for recoverable attorney's fees incurred. So this is the stipulation we're presenting to you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Kelly, did you want to add any additional comments?
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Cant, for providing this stipulation and for that summary. McGuff wholesaling was not subject to any discipline in California, which is why we've had asked that they be dismissed and not part of this stipulation. And otherwise, for McGuff Compounding Pharmacy, the pharmacy has been closed for some time, and we ask that the board accept the stipulation as written.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, board members, any questions or comments on the stipulation as presented? I think seeing that McGuff is closed and no longer operating, I am comfortable with the stipulation as presented.
I don't have any other additional comments. I would agree. So Crystal Freitas, I'd move we approve the stipulation order as presented.
Denise Taylor, I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Freitas, a second by Ms. Taylor. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. All right, we thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.
We'll go on to our next agenda item. And it will be for agenda item 5H for Injured Workers Pharmacy LLC. So if we have representatives here for Injured Workers Pharmacy LLC. Hi, good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, while they're doing that, it's for the public behind you. We record separately than that. We'll be able to record you regardless. So, but if you speak right into it, the public behind you can hear you.
And Madam President, Mr. Barnum Benjay is also on the line on behalf of Injured Workers Pharmacy.
Okay, great. Let's, we'll find him and have his line unmuted.
And he's other counsel, he's not a representative of.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. What's his name again?
I think he's under, I see him right there. It's like BB.
Okay, we thought, yeah.
Madam President, Brian Benjet from DLA Piper, Counsel for Injured Workers Pharmacy.
Hi, good morning. Hey, I will turn it over to Mr. Cant.
Brett Camp, for the record, prosecuting this matter on behalf of the state. Case number 23-428-PH-O, respondent Injured Workers Pharmacy, pharmacy license number PH 02281. The charges in this case begin on page 3587 of the board book. However, there was an amended accusation filed in this case. That is not in the board book. It does by law have to be made part of the record. So there are hard copies that have been provided to the board. Staff will enter it as part of the record, and there's copies available to the public as well. Just to note, the only change that was made in filing the amended charges was to paragraph 3 of the factual allegations, simply to allege that during the relevant time periods, the respondent was dispensing controlled substance prescriptions into Nevada to Nevada patients. We do have a proposed stipulation to present this morning for your consideration and possible approval. That stipulation begins on page 3690 of the board book. And so by way of brief background, in June of 2023, the respondent entered into a settlement agreement with federal authorities with regard to dispensing controlled substances from approximately 2014 to 2019. Allegations that those were not dispensed in conformance with federal law. Once again, during that relevant time frame, the respondent was dispensing to Nevada patients. So per the terms of that settlement agreement, the charges were brought here alleging violations of law and unprofessional conduct. And in order to resolve the matter, we are proposing a stipulated settlement by which the pharmacy license of the respondent will be suspended for 1 year, but that suspension will be stayed. The respondent will be placed on probation, subject to payment of a $10,000 fine, $1,000 in recoverable attorney's fees and costs, and no new charges to be filed during the term of probation. So this is the stipulation we're presenting for your consideration this morning. Thank you.
Great. I'll turn it over to Ms. Beggs or Mr. Benjet for any additional comments.
No, Madam President, we would just ask you to adopt the settlement as written.
Thank you. Okay, board members, questions, comments on the stipulation?
I don't have any questions.
Okay,
Adam Porth, for the record, I would move that we approve the stipulation for Injured Workers Pharmacy LLC.
Crystal Freitas, second.
okay. We have a motion by Mr. Porat, second by Ms. Freitas. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. Right, we will continue on with agenda item 5I for Dr. Frank Schallenberger. So if we have Dr. Schallenberger or representatives here.
Thanks on behalf of Dr. Schallenberger.
Okay, great. All right, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Cant.
Once again, Brett Cant, for the record, prosecuting this matter on behalf of the state. This is case number 23-515-CS-N. Respondent Frank A. Schallenberger, MD, certificate of registration number CS 20566. The charges begin on page 3696 of the board book. We do have a stipulation to present for your consideration and possible approval this morning. It is not in the board book, but copies have been passed out and are available to the public. So by way of brief background, the respondent in this instance was disciplined by the Nevada State Board of Medical Examiners, and related to that discipline was charged here with unprofessional conduct. In addition, the respondent had failed to disclose that discipline on his 2024 biennial renewal application for his controlled substance registration with the board. So they are proposing by way of a stipulated settlement that the respondent's certificate of registration will be suspended for a period of a year, but that suspension subject to public reprimand, payment of a $5,000 fine and $1,000 to partially reimburse the board for recoverable attorney's costs and fees incurred in the matter. Will comply with all applicable state and federal laws during the term of probation. This is the stipulation that we're presenting for your considerations. Thank you.
Thanks.
Nothing further to add.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, board members, any questions? on the stipulation and order as presented?
Forth for the record. I guess my only question is, given the nature of the discipline that came from the medical board, is there a concern with substance use disorder for Dr. Schallenberger we need to address?
Brett Kemp for the record. I need to pull up the accusation to look at exactly. I don't know if a respondent's counsel can answer that question quicker than I can.
Thank you for clarifying. With that clarification, I'd be comfortable accepting the stipulation as written. So I would move we do so for Dr. Schallenberger.
So Freitas, second.
Motion by Mr. Porras, second by Ms. Freitas. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. All right, thank you. All right, next we'll go to agenda item 5N, 5O, and 5P. That's for Smith's Pharmacy 315, Octavia Lorraine Brooks, and Alyssa Mercedes Garcia. So if we have representatives, if you could please come forward. All right, well, welcome back.
Lynn Biggs on behalf of Octavia Books.
And I believe I know Octavia Brooks from Roseman University. I believe so, but I can participate fairly and unbiased in this matter.
Denise Taylor, for the record, I as well know Octavia Brooks from Roseman University, but I am able to participate non-biasedly.
Okay, great, thank you.
I think we have somebody from Smith's online because she's only representing the pharmacist, so we're gonna try to get him on.
Anyone else online for Smith's?
Yeah, Nick Mesa with Quarles and Brady. We also have a representative, Paul House, as well, the pharmacy practice coordinator on for Smith's Pharmacy.
And Madam President, we don't see anybody from Ms. Garcia. If you could just call her one more time, and then if she doesn't answer, we'll know that she's not going to appear today.
Do we have any representatives for Alyssa Mercedes Garcia or Alyssa Mercedes Garcia? If you are present, please raise your hand on Zoom or let us know.
And for the attorneys, none of you are representing her, correct? Okay, thank you.
And Octavia Brooks is online, but we're having trouble with unmuting her. Octavia Brooks, could you unmute your line as well? Oh, you're unmuted. Thank you. So then with that, I'm going to swear Ms. Brooks in as well as Mr. House. I think everyone else is counsel, correct? Okay. All right. If you two can join me in raising your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be both truthful and complete?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Cant.
Brett Kemp for the record, prosecuting this matter on behalf of the state. These are case numbers 25-076-PH-S, -PT-S, and -RPH-S related to respondent Smith's Pharmacy, number 315, pharmacy license number PH03897, Alyssa Mercedes Garcia, Farm Tech certificate of registration number PT20499, and Octavia Lorraine Brooks, registered pharmacist, certificate of registration number 20950. So procedurally, we have three different respondents. Two are represented by different counsel. We are presenting stipulations from each of those, for each of those respondents, separate stipulations. And then the third respondent, Ms. Garcia, I'm prepared to move ahead on a default judgment. But procedurally, it might be best if we took Smith's Pharmacy first, then Ms. Brooks, and then I'll proceed on the default judgment if that's okay with the board president. The The charging document in this case begins on page.
Sorry, can I ask a question? Would it not be best to find the technician, the verdict on the technician first because the other ones cascade from that, or are you okay with?
No, because I can provide the.
As long as I got that, thanks.
Once again, the charges begin on page 3776 of the board book. Respondent Smith's Pharmacy filed an answer and notice of defense, which begins on page 3988 of the board book. The stipulation that's proposed with Respondent Smith's Pharmacy begins on page 3809 of the board book. And so to get to the factual background giving rise to the charges in the case, this was a diversion case. So Respondent Garcia diverted controlled substances from the Respondent Pharmacy. Respondent Brooks was the managing pharmacist at the pharmacy, and it was alleged in part that Respondent Brooks failed to follow Smith's own policies and procedures to guard against theft and diversion. And so with regard to Respondent Smith's Pharmacy, once again, the proposed stipulation begins on page 3809 of the board book. Obviously, the Respondent Pharmacy is responsible for the acts and or omissions of its personnel. And Smith's would stipulate to payment of a $2,500 fine and $1,000 to partially reimburse the board for recoverable attorney's fees and costs incurred in this matter. So I don't know if you want to take that first, if you feel more comfortable with me presenting the other step, let me know.
We could take that one first and separately. So the representative, would it be Mr. Mesa?
Yes, Madam President, thank you. Members of the board and staff, thank you. Paul House is here, again, as I noted, pharmacy practice coordinator for the pharmacy. As indicated, there are no factual disputes here. The only thing that I will highlight, which is in our answer and the documents provided, is the rather quick action taken by the pharmacy, one, to investigate the matter essentially on the same day that a suspicious order report was made by the supplier, and within days, completion of the investigation, and within a couple weeks, actually termination of the individuals for failure to comply with very clear policies and procedures related to controlled substance ordering, inventory, and security. So we do ask the board accept the stipulation and order as presented, though we are happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Okay, great. Thank you. I do have a question. I was reviewing some of the materials in the board book, and it looks like Smith's provided some policies and a copy of their policies and procedures. And I was curious, is that as a result of what happened, or were those already in existence and those were the policies and procedures that were not followed?
Mr. House can probably provide additional clarity on that, but those were highlighting the policies in existence. We did also provide a corrective action, preventive action plan that was implemented after the incident, but the policies and procedures that were attached to the actual answer were in existence during the time of the diversion.
Okay, then just a follow-up question maybe for Mr. House is, for those policies and procedures, it says, the pharmacy manager will run the balance on hand report once a week to check for any excessive or suspicious or unexplained manual changes. So you have that policy in place. Does Smith's have any, how does Smith's ensure that the pharmacy manager is doing what they're supposed to be doing?
So as PPC or pharmacy practice coordinator, I go in twice a year and we do audits on our pharmacies just for regulatory compliance. And that's one of the things I do review. And it was notated on my first, because I came into role around January of 2024. So it was notated in my first compliance audit that was missing. And we did address that with with like a disciplinary type letter of concern, internally. And she was working on correcting those BOH reports.
So you identified it kind of in an audit previously when doing like an inspection of the store, is that correct?
Yeah, so I did identify that there was a deficiency in the reports. And at which point when when I wrote her up on the letter of concern, it was fixed and she did start getting those reports printed and checked every week.
Okay, but then it continued after.
It did.
Okay, thank you.
May I add one point of clarification? Mr. House, can you describe real quickly? I just want to make sure that the board has the timeline correct. You came into your role at the end of 2024, is that correct?
December 23. So really by the time I got going, it was January 24.
That's right. So, but there were issues identified related to the balance on hand issues for this particular pharmacist that was flagged, and then continuing monitoring
Correct.
of that pharmacist. Can you explain that process just so the board is clear on what you all put in place there?
Yeah, so when I put that in place, that involved a 90-day follow-up, and I went back, two times during the 90 days and so that took place until like October 1st into the new year, into 2025, January. And both times when I went and followed up on this action plan or this letter of concern, balance on hand reports were there. They were signed and reviewed, and everything was notated as being accurate and correct on those balance on hand reports by the PSC at the time.
Okay, I think, Mr. Cant, I'd like to continue with hearing the case for Octavia Lorraine Brooks before deciding.
Brett Camp, once again, for the record. So with regard to Respondent Brooks filed through counsel an answer and notice of defense that appears beginning on page 3827 of the board book. And we do have a stipulation to present for your consideration, resolving the matter as to Respondent Brooks. That begins on page 3833 of the board book. Of course, Respondent Brooks is responsible as the managing pharmacist. In addition, once again, it was alleged that she failed to follow the policies and procedures that Respondent Smith's pharmacy had in place to guard against theft and misuse of controlled substances. And so with regard to the proposed discipline, the Respondent Brooks would pay a fine of $2,500 and also pay $1,000 to reimburse the board for recoverable attorney's fees and costs incurred in prosecuting this matter. That is the terms of the proposed stipulation with Respondent Brooks.
Great, thank you, Mr. Cant, and then I'll turn it over to Ms. Beggs.
May I ask, the computer in front of me is on a chat for Teams. Is there a possibility to get it back on Zoom so I can?
Sorry about that, Lynn. This is what's happening these days.
This is not the the best month for technology. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Sure, certainly.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, we could stand by the case that was filed in this case. There are additional allegations that we just heard that Ms. Brooks was not aware of. There was no information provided to us regarding those allegations. We answered based on the allegations that were contained in the board's accusation. Ms. Brooks stands by the information that is contained in the answer. I'm sure that she would be willing to answer additional questions, but as we indicated in the answer, when Ms. Brooks was suspended and terminated in January 2025, she was basically terminated by the manager of the Smith store, not the pharmacy, who was never provided information regarding the basis for the termination. So she was not, there was her involvement in the investigation here was tangential because she was never informed what was going on. I certainly can understand from Smith's pharmacy that that may have been because they thought that she was involved somehow in the diversion. Ms. Brooks, of course, denies that, but if there were additional allegations that we were aware of, we certainly did not respond to those in the answer. We responded to the allegations that the board set forth in their accusation.
Great, thanks, Ms. Beggs. I do have a question or some questions for Ms. Brooks. So Ms. Brooks, you heard the testimony from Mr. House just a little while ago.
Yeah.
Just wanted to see if you have what your response or comments to that.
The only response that I have to that is, yes, I was, on like a disciplinary thing from Smith's, regarding some of the record keeping. I think the last thing that was said before I changed it all was that I wasn't dating our balance on hand report, so just not following the procedure to the actual T. I will say that in regards to the, diversion, it seems as though some of that diversion, yes, was on the balance on hand change report, but some of that was on the invoice changes, which don't pop up on the balance on hand change report. So there's no way, even with doing the balance on hand change report, I would see it. But that's all.
Okay, so as far as the policies and procedures, did you run the balance on hand reports? Sounds like you're
Yes.
saying you did, but you didn't date them, and that was the issue?
Yes, some of them weren't dated, some of them weren't signed. So I wasn't following the policy to the T, essentially. If I can remember correctly, from my initial talks with Paul House, who is my
And then-
PBC representative.
When you ran those reports, did it flag anything unusual or suspicious?
Not that I can recall, nothing really stood out. I think on my interviews, when I was suspended, I said that at some point there was an issue with our wholesaler updating some of our controlled substances incorrectly. Because some of them were on back order, so it updated incorrectly. So at that point, we would go in and obviously change like mass quantities of controlled substances. But other than that, nothing that I saw that was egregious in nature.
And when working with the technician, Ms. Garcia, you notice any unusual behavior?
No, not at all. She was actually my lead technician. She floated around to different stores. People trusted her to work, so I didn't notice anything.
And then do you have a personal relationship with Ms. Garcia?
No.
Do you think there's anything else you could have done to identify the diversion that took place? Because the numbers are so significantly high, it's hard to imagine not to notice.
Yes, I do understand that. I guess the only thing I could have done that I guess I could have found the time to, I guess, expect more in depth. At some points, they would, my technician would say like, oh, this updated incorrectly, we just fixed it. And I would be okay, because I had other things going on in the pharmacy, obviously. I guess just looking more in depth to it every time, I know that the numbers are like outstanding, very high, but I don't know what more I could have done.
Because I do want to stress the fact that we have not been provided with any dates over which the diversion period may have occurred by Ms. Garcia. So as far as the number involved, we don't know if that was going on for years, if that happened before Ms. Brooks was even employed by Smith's Pharmacy. So there was nothing in Ms. Brooks' time that she would have noticed the egregious numbers that the totals that we were provided in the accusation indicate. So we don't know the time period over which that was.
What's the time period in which Ms. Brooks was employed at that particular store on Warm Springs or as managing pharmacist?
I started managing in 2021.
Okay.
August of 2021, sorry.
August 2021 until,
Until January of 2025.
okay, thank you. Board members, any additional questions?
Janice Taylor, for the record, I do have a question. So is it common practice for Smith's technicians to adjust controlled substance quantities on hand?
They have the ability to. The only adjustments that they can't make are on C2s.
Just because you're doing everything, I think at once now, we might want Smith to answer from their side too, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. That's a good point. So I guess from Smith's perspective, if you would like to comment on any of the testimonies made by Ms. Brooks?
Paul, do you want to speak to the last question related to the activities that are permissible by a technician when it comes to inventory and intake?
Yeah, so the technicians do have the ability to change, the non C2 controlled substances. And, we do that through shelf maintenance, we're checking balance in hands. So they do have that ability, but it does pop up on the BH report and it's notated name, who changed it. And so that should be, monitored and really a red flag if they see a change that doesn't make sense with the pharmacy manager. So it is monitored by the pharmacy manager on a weekly basis.
I have a question on the invoices. So it sounds like the invoices could be modified. Is that correct? I guess for Mr. House?
Yeah, so that is correct. So they receiving the order in the pharmacy system, that can be changed before fully receiving that order inside the pharmacy system. But again, that is also notated on the BOH report.
Okay, so in any instance, whether it's the invoice, it would show up on that report, you're saying?
Yeah, so it would show quantity ordered versus quantity received, and it would have the name of the associate who did that.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Yes.
Ms. Brooks, this is Crystal Freitas. So I just have a question regarding your knowledge of the policies and procedures that were in place. You are aware of these, correct?
Yes, I was.
So can you walk me through what you would do if there was a discrepancy on either an invoice or like when the tech told you there was an update that they made to the system? What was your process for investigating that?
My process, it was just checking the what we got in versus what in, and then checking the shelf to see if the numbers made sense. So if it was an Alpraz lamp that was changed, I would check the shelf to see if we actually had that balance on hand. And then if it checked out, then we were good to go. Most of the time it checked out, so.
Did you ever document anywhere of the research that went into the discrepancy or what was found after?
I don't think so, because I don't know if there is a place to document after you change. There was a place to document after you change it. The person changing it and you didn't put a note in as to why it was changed. I don't know if there was a place to I guess you can go back and say there was no change and then put your notes there, but I don't know if there was a place to actually document your research after a change happened.
Okay, thank you.
So I have, this is Helen Farga. I think it's concerning just with the volume of controlled substances that were diverted, and it just seems odd that none of that was, if the policies were properly followed, that it would not be caught in a timely manner. I have a lot of questions, but I'm not sure if that then goes into more of a hearing, and so I'm not exactly sure how to proceed. Board members, what are your thoughts on?
Yeah, for the record, I also have great concerns with the amount of the quantity of the diversion. It seems to me that it should have been noticed and followed up on much sooner. I'm just concerned about how that was allowed to go on for so long without noticing.
Well, and to Ms. Begg's points, there's no dates listed, and so I feel like we're missing some key information in terms of kind of assessing the entire case.
If I may add one piece with respect to clarity on the date, and this was in the materials when there was the initial investigation was launched by the board after the report by the pharmacy. The date range in which Smith and Mr. House performed the inventory and audit was between, let me see here. Paul, do you have it? I believe it was April of 23 to January 2025. April 30th, 2023 to January 22nd, 2025. So the quantity that is seen there in terms of the shortages was identified during that particular date range.
So at this point, I'm leaning towards rejecting SIPs. But open to feedback from other board members on where you're standing on this case.
What were the dates that the pharmacist worked? That she was,
August of 21 to January 25.
okay.
Madam President, can I ask just two quick questions of Ms. Brooks? Okay, so Ms. Brooks, I just want to make sure the board's hearing exactly what you said. So I think your testimony was that that you were busy in the pharmacy and that this had slipped because of the busyness of the pharmacy. Is that correct?
That's one of the reasons, yeah. It's
Is there
hard to
another
investigate, yeah.
Is there another reason?
I mean, not a good reason, no.
Okay.
I just had I trusted my technician. She was there for a long time. She was my lead technician. I didn't assume anything like this would ever happen, so.
And then I can you at least see the board's concern related to, you know,
Yeah.
the volume? Yeah, okay, sure.
Yes,
And then
yes,
are you
I can.
are you practicing now?
I currently, I think I did submit this to the board. I work online now
Okay.
at a Lumacera Specialty Pharmacy.
Are you doing anything with controls on it online?
Nothing with controls.
And then if you were to be put in the position of being a managing pharmacist, or if they allowed that, or if you're a pharmacist, did you learn anything through this process?
Yes, yes,
What
I
was
have.
that? What was that you
my-
learned?
My biggest takeaway was to now always verify anything that anybody tells me as regards to any changes that happen and just verify anything that I'm seeing, or if I think that something looks wrong, just bring it to somebody else's attention so that we can have two eyes on it or something like that.
Okay, and then I mean, you were obviously responsible for it, but did you divert?
I did not.
I just wanted to make sure that record was clear.
I guess the other question, sorry, Madam Fourth, for the record, that I would have for Smiths is, you know, there's obviously other ways that you could handle C3 through 5s and checking in the inventory there. Was there ever any consideration to change that process to not allow technicians to be able to do those adjustments independently?
So for this particular case, the corrective action plan or preventive action plan we put in place, one of the things that we did implement is the pharmacist will be the first person to check in all controlled substances from the orders. So they'll be the first one to open that tote or box. because the policies that we had submitted to the board, it's always been a 2-person check-in. So there's the pharmacist is always required to be one of the people to check in, and then a witness. And that's stamped and signed and dated by 2 people. So that way we know that there's, verification of the product being checked in. And so this pharmacy in particular is on that corrective action plan that it's going to always be the pharmacist, first one opening the tote, and then the technician will go behind and sign and check.
Is that just, sorry, Adam, is that just for this pharmacy that you had that did the correction action plan?
So that the policy is for the pharmacist to always be the first one to receive that order on controlled substances, is particularly C2s. But this is just definitely a point of emphasis with that corrective action plan that we have in place.
Turn it off for right now. It's okay. They're wired. It's okay. And so, okay, so there's been a change in that. That was maybe a lesson learned through this process. Okay.
Sorry, I missed part of that. So in other Smith stores, does that apply, or just for the Warm Springs where the pharmacist is the first to check?
So that should be applied in other Smith stores
Okay.
as well.
Shanice Taylor for the record, has there been any corrective action plans in regards to adjusting the inventory once it's checked in on hand? So I know there's a process as far as receiving the products. However, technicians are still able to change quantities. Is there something in place as far as a sign off by RPH once that adjustment has been made by a technician?
That, I mean, that process is still the same as the policy had been, that the sign off really is that BOH report, that when a change like that is made, the pharmacy manager should be identifying that on the weekly balance on hand report when they sign and review that.
I guess my thought process around that with the BOH report is I can see, for example, in this situation, a pharmacist may not question too many adjustments. If it's a single person, it's their lead technician, they would assume that person is making adjustments per standards of whatever they see on hand. But I'm just thinking of if there's an additional step and the RPH has to sign off, and it then raises questions as to why there's so many adjustments, even if it's by a singular person, their lead tech.
I guess I would say to that, anytime an adjustment's made, if the adjustment doesn't make sense, it's reviewed by the pharmacy manager. And if it can't be, if there's no reconciliation that can occur and they can't really figure out why that adjustment was made, then that should be brought, escalated to my attention for further review.
Madam President,
Yes.
just to help me understand it, I know your pharmacists on the board understand the system and goes through it. But it seems to me that from just listening to everybody's questions, that Smith was depending on the pharmacist to discover the diversion. But what if the pharmacist was diverting? What would then happen? What if the pharmacist was actually diverting all the drugs? What system was in place to catch that?
So Paul, do you want to speak to the kind of periodic checks of each pharmacy that you and your team undertake and undergo to ensure the accuracy of these various reports?
Yeah, so during my twice a year audits, I review the BOH reports to make sure that they're signed. And that would be also, I do spot check, changes to see if they're being acknowledged by the pharmacy manager, and if I was seeing a single pharmacy manager making all those changes on those balance on hands, then that would definitely raise a red flag for me to open up, further investigation. We do also have suspicious order monitoring, that was filed with the board in my response. So we do have a team of people for Kroger that monitor orders, and if there, are things that are caught through ordering that's suspicious, they reach out to the PPC and let them know so that we can further investigate. We do have the 2-person check-in to make sure we do have that second witness so that it can't just be the pharmacist checking in controlled substances. So there are, you know, a lot of things in place that would allow us to catch if it was the pharmacy manager involved.
Why didn't those things catch this? Is that only in place if the pharmacist is stealing? Why don't your corrections, why don't they help catch this?
Well, in this particular case, so I would say, you know, obviously the first line is the pharmacy manager reviewing those reports and bringing that to the attention, you know, of leadership, so that way we can, you know, do a further investigation. Eventually, you know, the suspicious order monitoring did catch, you know, things that were suspicious, and so it did eventually catch it in this situation.
I think there's a lot of talk about the suspicious ordering portion of it, but I think Shanice was talking about on the back end, when a tech changes something, what process are in place to prevent or to look into any kind of discrepancies found after it has already been received? And then
So,
secondary to that though, what I had asked Ms. Brooks earlier, if she had documented any investigation she took on these discrepancies, she said there's nowhere for it to be documented. Is that the case?
So I can answer, I guess I can answer in terms of what should have been done. So if something, as a pharmacy manager myself for Smiths for a long time before I got this role, if I run that BOH report every single week as I did, and I reviewed all my adjustments, and I made sure that if there was something that was negatively adjusted, that if there was no explanation, because we do have an ability to put expired. So if it's expired, that's given to the pharmacist to be locked away until we can send that back. So there's reasons we can have adjustments. If I saw something that didn't have a reason and I couldn't explain it just upon looking at invoices, because I, you know, check my invoices and do all this review, that is something that I immediately saw as a red flag and escalated that to my PPC. So it really goes back to the pharmacy manager running that balance on hand report. And when they see something that should be suspicious, they should be reporting it.
And I don't know if this is something new. Sorry, this is Octavia. I don't recall if somebody changed changed something in the invoices. It showed up on the balance on hand report. Because technically we would never have taken it into our system if they changed it on the invoices. I don't recall that being on the balance on hand change report unless it is now, and that's great, but I don't recall it being on there previously.
And I guess if I were a pharmacy manager and I just had to report everything, but there was nowhere for me to document it, I would be a little concerned because I'm just handing it off to somebody else. But I need to protect myself and my license as well. Saying like, this is what I did, this is how I looked into it.
Right.
And then, but if I'm just shooting off an email to somebody else saying, hey, this looks suspicious, somebody look at it, that doesn't make me feel safe with my license.
Agreed.
I think that, I also think that when there's so many exceptions, that's unusual, right? Like that rarely happens. Like, I think it's so far and few, like, it just doesn't happen to this extent where this type of discrepancy could happen in the period of approximately 2 years. I think it's the managing pharmacist's responsibility to look into those things. And if you see a discrepancy or you run those reports and there is something amiss, it's not just initialing, you have a duty to investigate and to take some next steps. And so that's the part that I'm having a hard time with. I think it sounds like Ms. Brooks trusted the technician, but didn't verify. And part of the job is to verify and to be that checks, that balance there. I think also that there's some process issues with Smiths that, you know, could have potentially helped to identify this issue sooner. But I think that there's a number of gaps in this process that enabled this diversion to take place.
Anna Carr for the record. just as a quick question for Smith, what would be a typical variance or on-hand inventory, like normal range in a day? Because just quick math, we're talking almost 30 tablets a day, 1,000 a month-ish. Would that be normal to see those on-hand adjustments in a pharmacy? Because I would think that that's pretty abnormal in a typical pharmacy.
So Paul, do you want to speak to that and then what perhaps you found in the investigation on the balance on hand reports as well? So what would be standard and then what was identified during the investigation?
Yeah, I mean, so I would agree that that is not a normal variance when you break it down per day, and I can attest during my investigation when going back and looking at this time frame and pulling BOH reports, it was easily identifiable to me when I saw adjustments that were made that didn't make sense, but they were still acknowledged. I mean, some were even circled and check marked by the pharmacy manager that said they were okay on the report. And so when I saw those negative 500 adjustments on 500 count bottles, that immediately threw a red flag for me. And as a practicing pharmacy manager previously, that was immediate, like, where did this 500 count bottle go? And unfortunately, looking at those BH reports, it was too often just accepted as a fact that it trusted the technician maybe as it was, and there was no further questioning of any changes that were made.
Mr. House, when you reviewed that, was that on your first visit or your second visit where you noticed those significant changes?
So that was that's when I was pulling all the BOH reports for this time frame and just kind of going through and seeing where changes were occurring as we were doing the investigation to find out what was happening and who might have been involved.
Okay, so when you went in for your visits, so you said you do twice a year, you identified that there were reports missing and things that weren't being completed. So none of that was noticed in either of those visits?
Well, like I said, the BH reports really weren't there. And then when I did go back, they were present after the letter of concern. But looking just at spot checking 12 weeks worth of reports, when I saw the pharmacy manager sign and date them, and they circled everything, suggesting everything was reconciled, it appeared as all was normal.
So I think that goes back to Mr. Tomaso's concern as well. So.
Madam President, is it okay if I say something?
Yes.
Okay, so Dave was for the record. Just to, divulge to the board this case. We've seen this before. We've gone, we've taken action against the technician. It's a newer concept for us in Yen and I reviewing the law, all the responsibilities. And I think today you're seeing why we did an accusation in this case. I typically, when I have that, we don't stip those so that you can have all the evidence and see everything and then kind of direct me on where you're going. But in this case, I think they've been very forthright, and hopefully they're taking responsibility for the action. And I think that this was, all those drugs probably went out to the street, which is like a very hard thing for you guys to swallow. I think conversely, a couple years ago, we implemented in our own inspections a blind count of products that are related to controlled substance. And we've seen in that a lot of discrepancies. And so I know that we were on the moratorium for the legislative session, but board staff, moving forward, all the things you're talking about, you have the ability to put in law to protect the public. And so should the technician be able to make adjustments, they do not need to do, a retail pharmacy does not have to have a perpetual inventory. They generally do. And that is, it's a misnomer to the public that they have to do that. So I think that we, in the future, will probably bring a regulation in front of you related to that. And then you can remember this conversation as we do that. And that's why we brought this case in front of you, because again, Smith's has operated in the state for a long time. They haven't had, this isn't a habitual thing that they've had. I don't think any pharmacy has been in front of you for habitually doing this, but we did want to, from board staff's perspective, we wanted to say, like, you're responsible for this and you need to take responsibility when it gets to this point. So you don't always say that, and I thought it might be proper to tell you at this time that that's what we're looking at.
Madam Fourth, for the record, I think where I'm struggling is that based on what I've heard, my understanding is the BOH report would be really good in catching if diversion was happening after the inventory had been checked in. They have a separate process where two people within the pharmacy sign off on what was actually received versus what they order, right? But there seems to be a little bit of uncoupling of that process where theoretically, I mean, you could have two people working together that could go on for a long period of time, right?
Right.
So I guess the concern that I have is that if you're doing everything you're supposed to do by the book, the BOH reports would look just fine, but there could still be a lot of diversion going on from the inventory check-in process. I don't know how to reconcile that.
Yeah, me neither, but I agree. I think that's part of what we're seeing here is there's a flaw in the process. Because then if the pharmacist is involved in diversion, there's that two-person check doesn't really.
Right, and the suspicious order process that's being referred to, I believe, and maybe Smith can correct me if I'm wrong, that was flagged by the wholesaler. Is that correct? And then that's what led to the investigation?
Correct. Paul, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
And then I'm concerned about the pharmacist circling, checking, okaying for so many exceptions across years.
Right, like does a pharmacy manager know what they're supposed to be looking for?
Well, and I think the response of, well, there's nowhere to document it, you need to document it, to your point, Ms. Freitas, it's like, you would want to protect yourself too, to show that you've done your due diligence, and I don't think the due diligence took place.
Right.
Is Dave, is our executive secretary correct in that if he does come back to us with a reg, that it would have corrected this? Is that the way that works, Dave?
Well, I think that, people are going to divert. So, I mean, we've seen that. It's to the extent of when you catch them. And I think that my sense is, and you saw it here today, like, you can't do it with twos. And so we got that real tight, but you could do it with other controls, which could have just the same devastating effect. And it's nothing to do with the operator. That's just the way society looks at it. So I think from board staff's perspective, we feel like having a perpetual inventory that has to be maintained all the time would be the best way to fix it, because then at any given time, exactly. And then when you see these discrepancies, it'd be in the perpetual inventory and it'd be right in front of them. But I think people are still going to defer. So I can't tell you that would fix this particular issue. If people, and I'm not saying in this case, but regardless, if people aren't paying attention to it, but people are going to divert.
Surprised, I mean, not being a pharmacist, I'm surprised that there isn't a perpetual inventory when all these drugs that come into the state are handed to these pharmacies and to control them and take inventories and store them and dispense them, that there isn't more of a control.
It's the nature of, I think it's the nature of how laws are made. So just to be very clear, in hospital institutional pharmacies, they have to have a perpetual inventory for the twos. Retails do not. It's just how the law was written, and they don't say the same thing for both. And I think that at least from my perspective, this is identified to me, and we need to do what we can about it. And you have the authority to determine who touches controls. You can once it's your perpetual inventory, you can say only the pharmacist can do the adjustments. When it's their inventory, you could say that too, but you have to do a separate reg. So I think they operated inside the law as it was written. Might have not been the best way to run that particular pharmacy at that time because they had somebody that was gonna, was diverting heavily. But I think ultimately it will go beyond this case with how you guys decide how people are gonna be keeping track of controls.
Since I've been on this board, I don't remember any institutional pharmacy coming before us with that.
There's diversion in institutional pharmacies too. I know, I'm not arguing with you. It's just a different kind of diversion sometimes, and they, institutionals, they have a different flow to the workflow, so they can do different things. I just want to be very clear that that's what the law states. If you're an institution, you have to do it, but in your retail, you don't. Most people do it in some form. This was their form of doing it, but I think moving forward, you might just need to direct the industry just a little bit more in detail of how you want it done. And that can't be solved today.
It's a discussion for another day.
I guess to get back to the issue at hand, as far as am I comfortable with the stipulations? I'll give you Adam Porth for the record, give you my thoughts on each individually. In regards to the stipulation for Smith's Pharmacy, I would not be comfortable accepting that until I had evidence that policies and procedures have been changed for all Smith's pharmacies and how they're dealing with controlled substances moving forward. So that would be my recommendation, is that if at which time we can see that evidence, then I think that we can probably proceed on that piece of it. In regards to defendant Octavia Brooks, I think that the current stipulation as written does not address the fact that there was what appears to be a long-standing neglect of her duty as a managing pharmacist. And perhaps we would need to also put something within her probation that she should not be a managing pharmacist. So that's kind of my thoughts on the two separate stipulations that we have.
Crystal Freitas, I agree with Mr. Porra.
I would agree too, especially with the stipulation that Ms. Brooks should not be a managing pharmacist for a certain period of time.
Dave, Weiss for the record. So, you have a couple paths. Todd will help you too. We can modify the steps. And I think as far as the policies and procedures, you can make that an order that they do it. We've done that many different times. So you can order them that they'll have to show that to us. It's not necessarily that they bring that before you agree the step, but you could go that path too. But many times we'll order that they have to have the policies and procedures. They have to, they have to bring those back to us. If they do not, that would be a show cause, and then they would be back in front of you for that scenario. And then for the other ones, we just would need some time to for Ms. Brooks. We just need to see if they're agreeable. Alternatively, we could just put on a full-blown hearing and you can have that, but I'm always just conscious of what your time is. So Todd can jump in and say, I said it right.
Beautiful, thank you.
I think for Smiths, I would like to see the policies and procedures have changed. I am concerned about I think earlier in the testimony, Ms. Brooks mentioned that Ms. Garcia floats to other stores too. So I do have that concern that, is this a bigger issue than just the Warm Springs store? And concerned about those drugs being out there and diverted. So something that shows that, there are safeguards in place to prevent this from happening in the future. And I understand that there are some in your policies and procedures, but this is the case that shows that your policies and procedures are not enough to prevent this extent or amount of significant diversion. And then I think with Ms. Brooks, she did not fulfill her duties as a managing pharmacist. And so I think that she should not be able to serve as a managing pharmacist for a period of 5 years. Then a probation for a period of 1 year. In addition to the STIP as presented. So those are some of my initial thoughts.
One other thing, just not off subject, if you wanted to address that, I'll pause.
No, I was just gonna say, I think procedurally, Brett, you guys would have to.
The council would have to discuss that with their.
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, we're probably ready for a break. The other thing that I wanted to add, that you've done in one other case that comes to mind is, there's no regulation saying a perpetual inventory, but you could mandate that if that's something that you wanted for some period of time, if you wanted to mandate a different way that they did the inventory. We may not get all the way through that step today, but that's certainly within your authority to mandate something else. And I'm not proposing that you have to do that. Maybe the policies address it, but we've done that in one other case that I can think of that was similar to this.
Yeah,
may do it on our own.
helpful in this case, yeah, especially if there's a technician flow.
It to this store, I think would be the safest way to do it. And then you could say there has to be, a perpetual inventory at the store times. You can go at it. I think in the other case, you mandated a store, but they saw the value in it and did it in other stores. We ended up seeing that they changed the corporate policy to mandate what you were doing. And so that's within your realm when you do an order, is what I'm telling you.
Okay, thank you. I guess anything else, board members, that we want feedback to provide to counselors as they will need to discuss.
If I may add one thing, to the extent the board does go down the road of requiring some form of modification of the policies and procedures, to the extent that y'all can provide a level of clarity where we know what to impact, change, and modify such that the board feels that is sufficient, or delegating that in some way to staff for that level of determination, that would be greatly appreciated. Certainly don't want to operate in the dark. We want to make sure that we're doing the right thing so that the board is comfortable moving forward. But that level of clarity would be much appreciated.
Dave Weiss, for the record, if they proceed with modifying the STIP, you will have that before you agree to it. So that would be, we would take a break and then talk to you guys. And again, we could bring it back for a hearing, or we can do whatever you want to do with it.
I think let's take a break for now to discuss.
You want us to start discussing with them? So does anybody else have any, I have the requirements that you kind of talked about. We'll see if we can hit the mark for you. Was there anything else that you wanted?
No, and I'm comfortable with moving it to a hearing. If not, I think
Okay,
that'd be okay too.
we'll take a break.
Take a quick break. Thank you.
Brett, I think he has a. Madam President, Dave Weiss, for the record, I think if you go to Brett, I think that he has an update, and then we can just go around to the attorneys, and then we'll go to maybe the default case on the technician herself.
I just want to make sure everyone is back. It's like everyone is back, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Camp.
Brett Camp, for the record. After conversing with counsel, both Smiths and Brooks, we believe that we have sufficient direction from you as to what you would want to see in a STIP with each of the respondents. We think it preferable that you table agenda items 5N and 5O, and we will come back to you at a future meeting. We will craft revised stipulations that reflect your direction, and we'll bring those back to you at a later date.
And Ms. Beggs and Mr. Meza, are you in agreement?
Yes, I'm in agreement on behalf of Ms. Brooks.
Yes, on behalf of Smith, we are in agreement with that plan of action.
Okay, then with that, we'll go ahead and table items 5N and 5O for a future meeting date. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. And then we'll still continue with 5P, and that's for Alyssa Mercedes Garcia. So I'll do another call for Alyssa Mercedes Garcia. If you are here or online, or if you have a representative, please come forward or raise your hand. Okay, don't see anyone coming forward. And then just to check, is my mic on? Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, but just because of the reverb that we're getting now, we're on low, but I can hear you fine. And we have obviously there's a record of this.
Oh. How's this? Is this better? And mic check? Okay, there we go. All right, thank you. Feedback. All right. Mr. Cant.
Greg Camp for the record. So I am prepared to move forward with the default judgment for case number 25076-PT-S. Respondent Alyssa Mercedes Garcia, PT, certificate of registration number PT 20499. And once again, there are 5 causes of action against this respondent set forth in paragraphs 19 through 23 of the accusation: unlawful acquisition of controlled substances, unlawful possession of controlled substances, unlawful use of controlled substances, unprofessional conduct in the form of diversion, and unprofessional conduct in the form of engaging in a fraudulent or deceitful practice or transaction. And so I would note that this board previously upheld a summary suspension against the respondent that was entered on March 11th of this year. The post deprivation hearing on that order of summary suspension was held before the board on April 16th, and respondent Garcia failed to appear, and the suspension has been in place since that time. That order of summary suspension appears on page 3852 of the board book. So at this juncture, I am prepared to demonstrate that the respondent has been noticed in conformance with Nevada law of this hearing here today, and my co-counsel is going to pass out 2 declarations from board staff. One is a declaration demonstrating service of the accusation on not once, but 2 occasions. And the second declaration demonstrates service of a second notice of the hearing today. In all those instances, a service of those documents was upon the respondent at the respondent's address of record with the board. So I would ask that those declarations be entered into the record as exhibits 1 and 2 respectively.
Okay, so admitted as exhibits 1 and 2.
And with that, I would ask that the board find jurisdiction and make findings of fact consistent with paragraphs 1 through 7 of the accusation.
Crystal Freitas, so moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Freitas, second by Mr. Porat. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Next, I would ask that the board make conclusions of law and apply the law as set forth in paragraphs 8 through 23 of the accusation and find the respondent guilty on all 5 counts.
Through 23? Yes. Crystal Freitas, so moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Freitas, second by Mr. Porat. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes.
Next, my co-counsel is going to pass out a memorandum of attorney's costs that are recoverable in this action. pursuant to NRS 622-400, totaling $2,277.45. I would ask that that memorandum be entered into the record as Exhibit 3.
Okay, so admitted as Exhibit 3.
And I would ask that the board next revoke the certificate of registration of respondent Alyssa Garcia, registration number PT 20499, and that the respondent may not petition for reinstatement for a period of 5 years.
Move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Freitas, second by Ms. Taylor. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Next, I would ask that the board find that the attorney's fees and costs in the amount of $2,277.45 were reasonable, necessary, and actually incurred, and be awarded and order their payment by respondent pursuant to NRS 622-400, due and payable by December 1st of this year.
Crystal Freitas, so moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Freitas, the second by Mr. Porath. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
And finally, I'd ask that the order be effective immediately.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Freitas. Mr. Porath got the second there. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? That motion passes. All right,
I have nothing further on this agenda. Thank you.
great. Thank you, Mr. Camp.
Madam President, I think for the benefit of the public in this case, we alluded to the amount of quantities that were involved here. And I think it would just be beneficial to just kind of spell that out to say, in this case.
Total number of tablets that were diverted.
Yeah. So I think if the record is correct here, there were over 9,500 Alprazolam Lamb 1 milligram tablets, over 19,900 Alprazolam Lamb 2 milligram tablets, and over 1,000 Tramadol 50 milligram tablets in this case. And that's why I think we were not comfortable with the stipulations of the other two parties here.
I would agree. Because of the significance, yeah.
Were we told if there was any criminal action taken against her? Criminal action, was there any criminal action?
Is there any criminal action against Ms. Garcia or pending criminal action related to this case?
I can't believe it.
Okay, all right, thank you, and thank you for pointing that out. I think that is important for the public to be aware of. We will move to agenda item 5J for Deborah Renee McCurtain Murray. So if representatives are here, or if Deborah Renee McCurtain Murray, you are here, please come forward or raise your hand on Zoom. Okay, it does not appear that the respondent is here in person. Are you prepared to move forward, Mr. Cant?
Greg Camp, for the record, prosecuting this matter on behalf of the state. This is case number 24-131-CS-S. Respondent is Deborah Renee McCurtain, APRN, certificate of registration number CS 31659. The charges against the respondent appear beginning on page 3707 of the board book. They stem from a California Board of Registered Nursing disciplinary action. And that order appears beginning on page 3717 of the board book. As a result of that order, this board serves respondent with notice that her certificate of registration number CS 31659 with the board is suspended. That suspension notice begins on page 3736 of the board book. I am prepared to proceed with the default hearing today. So if I may, my co-counsel is going to pass out a declaration from board staff evidencing service of the accusation together with the statement respondent and notice of this hearing today, and a second notice of hearing, and that those documents were served upon respondent at the address of record with the board. I would ask that that declaration be entered into the record as Exhibit 1.
So admitted as Exhibit 1.
And with that, I submit that respondent has been properly noticed of this proceeding today in conformance with Nevada law. And therefore, I would ask the board if I may proceed to request findings of fact and conclusions of law and action against respondent. I would ask that the board find it as jurisdiction and make findings of fact consistent with paragraphs 1 through 4 of the accusation.
Lynn Park, so moved.
Madam Porras, second.
Second by Mr. Porath. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes.
Second, I would ask that the board make findings as to the applicable law and conclusions of law consistent with paragraphs 5 through 16 of the accusation and find the respondent guilty on all 5 counts.
Shanice Taylor, so moved.
Crystal Freitas, second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Taylor, second by Ms. Freitas. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? That motion passes.
Next, my co-counsel is passing out a memorandum of costs and fees incurred in this matter that are recoverable pursuant to NRS 622-400, totaling $1,590.55. I would ask that that memorandum be entered into the record as Exhibit 2.
So admitted as Exhibit 2.
And next, I would ask that the board revoke the certificate of registration of respondent Deborah Renee McCurtain, APRN certificate of registration number CS 31659 pursuant to NRS 453-240-11B. And that the respondent not be able to petition for reinstatement for a period of 5 years.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Carr, second by Mr. Porath. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes.
Next, I would ask that the board order the respondent to pay pursuant to NRS 622-400 recoverable attorney's fees and costs in the amount of $1,590.55 due and payable by December 1st, 2025.
Crystal Freitas, so moved. Oh, sorry.
And that these reasonable.
Reasonable and
necessary-
necessary and actually incurred.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion by Ms. Freitas,
Second.
second by Mr. Porath. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes.
Just that the order be effective immediately.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Freitas, second by Ms. Carr. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes.
And I have nothing further on this agenda item. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, we're going to move to our next agenda item, and that is 5Q for Ability Prosthetics and Orthotics of Nevada LLC. So if we have representatives, if you could please come forward or raise your hand online or in Zoom.
Hello, my name's Tom Hartman. I'm appearing for the respondent, Ability Prosthetics.
Okay, great. Mr. Hartman, will anyone else be joining you today?
No,
Okay, and could you state your title for the record?
sure. I am Senior Vice President, General Counsel, and Secretary of Ability.
Okay, are you representing as counsel or?
No, I'm here on behalf of the corporation as Vice President.
All right, then I'm going to swear you in. If you could join me in raising your right hand.
Sure.
Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be both truthful and complete?
I do.
Great, thank you. All right, Mr. Zanino.
President Park, for the record, Greg Zanino. I'm presenting this matter on behalf of board staff. This is the matter of Nevada State Board of Pharmacy versus Hanger Prosthetics and Orthotics, successor in interest to Ability Prosthetics and Orthotics. The accusation in this case begins at page 3860 of your board book. The parties have reached a stipulation and proposed order for your consideration and possible approval. That stipulation is not in your board book. We got it signed just a couple days after that was published, but I believe that you either have a electronic copy or a paper copy in front of you. It was emailed, I think, a couple days after we posted the board book. If you don't have a copy, let me know. So I'll cover the kind of the key provisions of the stipulation for you. So in this case, the respondent does not, and this appears in paragraph 6, respondent does not contest the allegations stated in counts 1 and 2 of the accusation and admits that evidence exists to establish a factual basis, to wit, respondent was at the time of the events operating a medical products provider business at Matley Lane in Reno. On July 12th, they acquired another business location that was at Kerman Avenue in Reno, license number MP 01037. And so at that time, the administrator at that time was Tina Humphreys. She resigned her position. Her husband, Travis, who was a former owner of the business, assumed the position, but he wasn't approved by the board. The respondent didn't notify the board that Mr. Humphreys had taken over as administrator, and they failed to notify the board that there had been a change in the controlling interest of the business. So upon approval of the stipulation, count 3 of the accusation shall be dismissed. However, as to counts 1 and 2 of the accusation, the board and respondent agree to the following. One, respondent acknowledges that MP 01037 was forfeited by operation of NR 639.180 subsection 6 because they failed to renew it. Respondent shall pay a fine in the amount of $4,000 payable by or on or before October 31st of 2025. Respondent shall pay the sum of $500 to partially reimburse the board for attorney's fees and costs. Again, that sum's payable by October 31st, 2025. The parties agree that this action has no effect on the license that's currently in effect for the operation on Matley Lane. This constitutes a full and final resolution of the case.
And respondent understands that this matter will be reported to the National Practitioner Data Bank. With that, I will turn it over to you, President Park.
Great, thank you, Mr. Zanino. Mr. Hartman, did you want to add any additional comments regarding the stipulation in order?
No, other than we're fine with the stipulation and acknowledge all of the things that were just read. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, great, thank you. Board members, any questions for Mr. Hartman? I don't have any questions and I feel comfortable with the stipulation in order.
Do as well, Adam Forth, for the record. I would move that we accept the stipulation in order as written.
We have a motion by Mr. Porath, a second by Ms. Carr. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. For your time today, Mr. Hartman.
Thank you.
Right, next we'll move to agenda item 5X, and that's for Kui Tide. If we have representatives for Dr. Tai, or if Dr. Tai is present, if you could please come forward or let us know through Zoom. Hi, good morning. Oh, it looks like your line is still muted.
I try to unmute.
Oh, there we are. We can hear you now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Could you state your full name for the record?
Sure, my name is Kui Tai.
Great,
Oh.
Hi, Dr. Tai, will anyone else be joining you today?
Yeah, my attorney, Eric Stryker. Somehow, oh my God, this is computer. Oh no, I cannot see you. Oh, there you go. Okay, good.
Okay, he's back.
I'm sorry, I'm very new to computer. Can you see me
No,
now?
that's okay.
Okay.
Yes, we could see you fine. Yes,
And I'm nervous.
understandably. Okay. Hi, and then Counselor, if you could identify or state your full name?
Yes, hi, Eric Stryker, bar number 5793, appearing on behalf of respondent Dr. Tai.
Okay, great. And Dr. Tai, I'm going to swear you in. If you could join me in raising your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be both truthful and complete?
Yes, I do.
Great, thank you. All right, I'll turn it over to Ms. Tucker.
Thank you, Madam President. Laura Tucker for the record. This matter is 5X and it can be found on page 4018 of the board book. This is case number 22-476-CS-S, and the respondent is Dr. Kui Tai, certificate of registration number CS13843. We have a proposed stipulation to present to you today. By way of background, this accusation dealt with Dr. Tai's non-compliance with the prescription monitoring program. We allege that he failed to review his prescribing activity between January 2018 and December 31st, 2024. And he failed to review his patient utilization report from January 2018 until November 15th, 2022. So the terms of the stipulation that we're proposing today are that the respondent is agreeing to participate in training with board staff on the use of the PMP system within 60 days of the effective date of this order. And then he will participate in a follow-up training 6 months after the initial training. Also that Dr. Tai will pay an administrative fine of $5,000 and also pay fees and costs to partially reimburse the board for its fees and costs of $1,000, which are reasonable, necessary, and actually incurred. So that's the stipulation that we are presenting to you today.
All right, Mr. Stryker, did you have any additional comments?
No, thank you very much for considering the stipulation.
Okay. Board members, any questions for Dr. Tai or Mr. Stryker? I'm just curious, and this is Helen Park. So Dr. Tai, why did you not check the PMP, or how did you find yourself in this situation?
Well, the reason is this, you know what, I am by myself and I'm solo practice. I'm on call for 24 hours a day. And my focus is on medicine, and I take my best ability. I take care of my patient. I treat them very carefully. I always talk to them. I know their family and everything. And that's my mistake, not to focus on law. And, you know, when I find out that I have to do this PMP things, and before even the board find me for all these problems, I already work on it. And I understand that the board allow me 90 days to check on my patients. Every time I see the patient, after talking to them, examining them, and I feel the patient need controlled substance, I check the PMP right away. And that's before even the board having this issue. And you can see that. And also the query that you mentioned, I did that before the board was talking about it.
Okay, good. So since then, you've changed your practice. It sounds like you are now
Compliant.
checking- Yes, compliant and checking. And I think that allows you to provide better patient care. So it sounds like your
Vigorously.
focus is on patient care.
Yes. It's always good for the patient care and to make sure that no harm's done.
Okay. Any additional questions for Dr. Tai?
Crystal Freitas, I don't have any more questions. I would move we approve the stipulation and order and for Dr. Kui Tai.
Janice Taylor, second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Freitas, a second by Ms. Taylor. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Great, we thank you for your time today, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I be excused?
Yes, you may be excused.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to our next agenda item. I believe that completes everything for our schedule for today, so we'll go to 6A and 6.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
For the record, I do need to note one thing for the record under agenda item 5A.
certainly.
If I may. So agenda item 5A was in order to show cause issued in case number 22247 CS-A-N against respondent Carrie Bergner, certificate of registration number CS-15148 for failure to pay fines and recoverable attorney's fees and costs in accordance with a board order that was entered July 17th of 2024. Subsequently to the noticing of the show cause hearing, Ms. Bergner paid those fines and fees and is now in compliance. And so I would ask that the hearing be vacated.
So we'll note that for the record that it's been vacated. Thank you. All right, so we'll move to agenda item 6A, 6B.
Dave, please, for the record. Those people have been noticed for 1 o'clock. So I would, we've had discussions about 1 o'clock. So if you could do me the favor of taking a break, and then we will get all our other stuff. I just, for the public and you, we have a constraint that the board can't control tomorrow. And so we're just trying to get through the meeting as fast as we can today. So we've brought some people that were initially thought we'd see tomorrow today. That will be after 1 p.m.
Okay.
But I have a bunch of other things that I get to do in the meantime. So if you can just take a break and then we'll talk about how we're going to move forward, that would be great.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Okay, great, we're going to go ahead and move forward with our agenda, and we'll move next to the executive report.
Dave Weiss for the record. Can I just ask you to do the general counsel report first, just to give her a moment?
Sure. We'll move to the general counsel report.
Thank you, President Park. Greg Zanino. We do have one case that's still pending in the Nevada Court of Appeals. I've mentioned this several times. I was expecting that maybe the court would request oral argument on that, but they've not given us any indication as to whether they want to hear argument or not. So they could just issue a decision on the briefs. They could request oral argument. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I think that Brett has some news on the Ivanka case too.
Yeah, Brett Kemp for the record. The hearing in the petition for judicial review that was filed by Festus Ivanka is scheduled for September 16th in Las Vegas. Hopefully we'll have a ruling shortly thereafter.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, Madam President, Executive Secretary report. Dave Weiss, I'll hold the financial report to the end because Karen was hoping to come give it with me, but we'll do it if we have to. So I'll move to issuance of temporary licenses and registration. So we continue to do that. Just one nuance for the public. I think secondary to you requiring that staff take over the jurisprudence test as required by law to get their license. Things are moving faster than ever before, which is probably a good thing. But we have been contacted by multiple people, not just one person, about now we have these pharmacists that are waiting. They've completed everything. We're waiting on their fingerprint background check. And so they're waiting, and what can we do for them in the meantime? So, I mean, historically, we have not given out temporary licenses during that time. But we've met with staff and the attorneys and everything, and we've made the determination that we could give out temporary licenses during that time if there were no disclosures or disclosures that Yen and I could not rectify in short order. So if there's a disclosure that's related to some criminal or administrative history, I will not give out the temporary license, and you'll see the fingerprints, and then you'll see, or we'll process them through the fingerprints, and then you'll see them in front of you. But in lieu of that, I have been granting temporary licenses. And so the staff is in the middle of, so we've done it in the north. Adam's had the experience, and he can share it as part of this report if he wants, but I'm sure it went fine. And I think it was just yesterday or the day before because the days are blending together. We've also done it for in the process of doing it for a retail location in Las Vegas. And then Candy and Mark and Christy are notifying all the outstanding people that this is a possibility for them. So we'll get that out. With the website being down, we're still experiencing challenges with forms and stuff like that. We've built, I'll talk about it in renewals when I get to that, but so we can always send the people the form and do it. So I think that it's really unfortunate what happened to the state, and it has affected us. But as far as licensing goes, we're still processing on time. I'll just pause for any questions related to the temporary licenses.
I don't have any questions on the temporary licenses. I think I'm glad to hear that we're doing that to move things forward for our pharmacists and our licensees. I guess just in regards to the website being down, so have we had an increased volume of calls, or is it the emails are still functioning? So is it mostly email, or how have we helped the public?
I mean, it's completely anecdotal because we don't have a resource to measure that. The first couple days that the website was down, we saw a reduction in calls. So I don't know if people used the website to figure out where we were or whatever the deal is, but the first couple days, anecdotally, we had less calls. And Yen and I monitor this stuff obviously every day. After that, there's an increase. And the other thing too is I'm going to talk about is that we're in the renewal cycle, which you guys know, and that's an increase of calls. So I think unfortunately we've seen it. I kind of try to monitor, like if we got and one of the questions that we've been asked to post, the governor's made another website that's hosted out, governor's office of technology has another website that's posted outside that we can place things. And so we are placing our status on there. I think that everybody thought that we're not the DMV, so we don't see a lot of walk-ins, and are we going to see more walk-ins? So I really haven't seen more walk-ins, but we really only see anybody can walk into the Vegas office or the Reno office, but we just kind of see more in the Reno office. And we haven't seen any more than that, but we've definitely told the governor's people that we're accepting walk-ins. And so we're now on a daily cycle to report our status, and then they're going to report that to other places. I think many agencies are on that. So the outage affected our website. We obviously were able to do the board meeting in compliance with open meeting law just because of the timing of everything that we did. The fingerprint background checks are down. I mean, I shouldn't say down. We're not receiving any. So when we start receiving, we'll know that it's working. And so that we were running around 2 months, maybe a little bit more. And we try to tell people like this is what we think it is, and then we were actually down to 3 weeks. We've gone to the new electronic, so we're not waiting for the mail to come, and we've done all of the work that's necessary to have everybody that could ever get to fingerprints have completed the training as required by federal law, federal guidance or whatever. So I think we're just going to have to wait till that fingerprints gets back up. So, but in the meantime, we have a path for people that qualify. The change of addresses in the business are on there, meeting with other regulatory boards. Not much of that going on. I'll use this opportunity to say that, and I think I've talked about this before, but maybe not. The LCB is doing an audit on how the state's response to the opioid crisis. It's a very broad audit. I'm pretty sure that we're one of the first places that they stopped, and Darla and Yen have been doing the vast majority of work related to that audit, and it is unfortunately quite labor intensive, but that will branch out into other agencies, and I'm starting to see that now. So we'll be working with the other agencies just to make sure that through that audit process, we're able to describe how all the people act during there. And that's probably about a 2-year audit, or I'm guessing at that, but we're what are we, probably 6 months into it or so, yeah, and somewhere around, somewhere in there. And so that will continue. And then all the partners that we work with will do that. And then also on other regulatory boards, I've been advised by the business and industry that their plan is to do some regulations related to our behavior or how administratively we do things. I don't know. I haven't seen the language, don't even know what they're talking about. Don't know where they're going to place it. It is unlikely that it would go in your chapter because you guys would be doing regulations. So there's probably some other chapter that they're looking to put that in. And they said that they will share that with us when the time comes. So I don't know what that looks like, but that is on the horizon. And then we'll just see how that goes moving forward. On licensing activities, we did a lot of due diligence related to should we start the renewal, should we hold the renewal? And so what we've done with it, so I can report back to you at this point, is that we have built portals and access points that are not that don't drive people to the website. To the website, I'm tired of talking. To the website. And then it goes right into the licensing software. And so we sent those links out directly. We had a concern related to people being able to look themselves up. So we provided that link, and we provide that to anybody. So the link that you can do a license verification is still functional. It's not functional because you can't go to the website and see it, but we have that separate link. If people contact us, we can give that to you. And we've sent it to all the pharmacists have it. They don't always read everything that we send them, but we did say if you need to check anything. So if they're looking to check a tech, if that tech has a license, we've direct emailed that to them. And then we'll just be in contact with the governor's technology people. And then as we see that we need to notify more people or whatever. Like again, we had the PMP was down yesterday for about an hour and a half or 2 hours, unrelated to again, just technology. So that was unrelated, but we got a couple calls on that. I just want to say on the record, when the PMP is down, the requirement to check it is technologically not available. The requirement is you don't have to check it. And then as Ann is whispering in my ear, we did identify another issue related to renewals. That is the people that have not done their continuing education. That is linked through the website. And we're monitoring that right now. So if a pharmacist is renewing and they've completed their 1 hour law CE, then they can renew. The people that waited to the end don't have the ability to go to the website. We have the ability to send a direct link to that, so there's no issue with that. But we're waiting to see what happens with the website. And it's every time we do that, it sounds great that we do it, but it's like a day's worth of resources to do all those kinds of things. It's not, we don't just hit a button and like people, we're sending an email. So we have to build a list of people and they have to be quarantined in a particular way and they have to go to the right people. So we are monitoring that day by day and just don't know when the website's going to be fixed and how that even looks. We are in like communication with that they know that our website is down though. So that's kind of what. Did you want to add anything else, Deputy?
Great job.
Let me get back to my list. Okay, with that, we will have a legislative update. I'll leave it to the professional. I'll say a little bit more about that. So if we can hold that item, it's agendized that we're going to have a legislative update. No action on it, obviously, but Mike Hillerby, who we contract with, will be here at 1 o'clock to do that. And I'll say some things about Mike and the things that we're working on. And with
Tomorrow, correct?
tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Yes, thank you, Madam President. And is Karen showed up? Okay, so I'm just going to go to the finances. So if Yen would be so kind as to hand those out to everybody. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start with, we are currently under audit by an outside accounting firm as required by NRS. They're auditing a couple things. They're auditing just the regular board finances, and then they audit all the grants that we do. So the two audits go on at the same time. I know that I've been contacted, Helen's been contacted, Adam's been contacted, and you guys, they haven't said you didn't complete your work, so I know that you probably did. I'm sure you did. And the attorneys will be, I don't know if they've contacted the attorneys, but they always send one saying, what are your liabilities and what outside? And Greg will deal with that when he gets it. So that's probably one of the last things that they do. As it's related to that, not on this finances, but they check these finances. We do get grant funds, and they're all secondary grants to other things that the health department do, and we go through all the grants. Adam and Helen know this. That's about it's about $1 million a year worth of grants, with the vast majority of the money going to integration for the pharmacists and the practitioners related to when you go into Cerner or Epic or whoever's proprietary software. They have the ability to be integrated, and the PMP can be pulled in nanoseconds, and then that just becomes something that can be reviewed like labs. The alternative to that is the old way, which is the practitioner or the pharmacist fill in the prescription. Then they're not required to do it, but many pharmacists do check it. Would stop what they're doing, log into a different URL, put a password, put their username in, a password, find the patient. There'll be 6 crystals, and then they have to find the date of birth and all that. So that's the old way, which I think now would be quite debilitating if that's what the world was asked to do. They did it in the past, but if they were asked to do that. And so back to the point of the grants, I think unfortunately, every one of our grant has been frozen during the past year by the federal government. And so that experience of me calling Adam and saying that the grant's frozen and we're working on it and we don't know what's going to happen and this is when the money's due and this we can bridge it with this or whatever, has led me to believe that we need to address if there is no grant for these kinds of things. And so they're all on now. They've all come back on, talked to federal people, talked to state people, talked to the governor's office about the grants and all that. So I do think that we'll have to address that in the next session, and I've just begun to work on what that looks like. And does the world want us to continue to do the integration, or do we stop doing the integration, or how does that really work? And I can talk to any of you offline about that. Whenever the grants go down, I send it to Adam and I call him, the grants are down. So they're all operational right now, and there's no immediate concern about anything. But there's been other departments in the state where they have not. The health department lost about 45 people that were on a grant, and that's gone, and the people don't work there anymore. So it's concerning to me that something as important as the integration, it could potentially be at risk. So you'll see that coming in the future. So back to the finances, and then I'll let Adam, I'll go through them, and then Adam can say whatever he wants to say. But just to be clear, these are the end of the year. So these are June, because we're in the middle of doing the audit for the other stuff. So I can't bring you July and August at this particular time, would be too soon. But these are June. So this is the end of the year. This is you budget beginning in July 1st. It ends in June 30th of this year. And so these are the final actual numbers for what happened last year. And I'll just point out some items, and then I can answer any questions. The first is the beginning balance is what your reserves are, which are at that particular time in the upper left-hand corner, budgeted for $4 million and change. And then if you go over to the second to last column on the right, that will be the actual, and so pretty close to each other, obviously close to the same number. That's easy for us to calculate. But as we go through the year, we will spend those down or add to them. And this is that past year was the year that we do the vast majority of our licensees. So that's a year where that dollar amount will go up through the year. And then this year, which we're coming into, the pharmacist will renew. We do not bring enough revenue in to run the board for a year with the pharmacist. And so we will eat into those operating expenses. And so as you just go down through the columns there, you can see that as far as revenue, some things happen, renewals, renewals were, slightly higher than we expected, and we don't know why that always is. We do try to accurately predict what's going to happen, but we can have things like major chains can change ownership, and that will cause some financial effect, or major chains can close stores, and that'll do some effect, but nothing at this point that is that really concerning. If I go down to the expenses, you can see the payroll number there in the left column, which is $1.4 million and change. And then we only expended $3.7 million. But to do that, you have to look at how we've structured the board recently. And so we are bringing in, because they're great resources and they're here today, we're bringing in contract employees that don't go to payroll. They go to the operating expense. So if you go down to the next one, you'll see that we under budgeted for operating expense, but that's because instead of payroll, it was an operating expense. So I think that all justifies out. We are really paying attention to our investigations right now. We've told you already, and I think Ryan and I went around and met with most of you guys in person just to tell you, like, this is what Ryan's about and this is why he's here. We're seeing returns on that already. I'm trying to figure out how I wanted to say this, but the majority, the more than 50% of our investigations are unrelated to a pharmacist in the pharmacy. And it's probably higher than that, where it's about possessions of drugs, controlled substances, prescribers, and those kinds of things. Those are taking up the vast majority. And you guys don't always see them because a lot of them are unlicensed activities. And then they just get a fine, and that goes to the state, and they don't appear because they're not. We can only bring people, we bring people in front of you that we do an accusation. If they want to contest the cite and fine, they always have the ability, and they come in front of you so that you kind of see that. The rest of the expenses were on target. just minor variances, but nothing to be concerned about. And so then we will build up our reserves, but then we will dwindle those down because we will not bring in enough revenue during this renewal cycle. And so the renewal cycle, we did make the decision to proceed. The outstanding issue right now is the continuing education. We have the ability to extend it if we need to under what's happening with the website and that kind of stuff. So we'll just see how we go. We honestly, we end up, because a lot of times we fall on a holiday, we end up giving people a couple extra days to redo anyway. But we'll see what happens this year. Pause, Adam, you can, that's a lot, sorry.
Couple of things back to the temporary licenses. I was one of the people that did reach out to Dave. We were having issues with our first year residents. We were eating into our precious orientation time in the beginning of the year. So I think that this would be a really good option for those newly licensed folks to be able to actually practice as pharmacists once they pass the log exam. So I think that will, again, just kind of speeding people into practice, I think is going to be a good thing. And then in regards to the finance, I would just say that I think that Dave and Yin and Karen are doing an amazing job of just kind of forecasting, some of the things that we're going to need to cover in the future and thinking through if that grant goes away, how would we fund that activity, knowing that that's something that we're going to want to continue. So overall, just want to congratulate you guys. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, Adam. He's always given his time. I bug him way too much, and we do our quarterly meetings and he keeps us on task. So.
Great, thank you.
No motion or anything, but that we'll do. I will tell you that our goal for the audit, it's due in December. It's due December 1st statutorily. We try to get that to you ahead of time. There's some change in the auditing company that are, I think, fine, but they're just people get to retire or whatever. So we're working through that. So our goal will bring the audit into you in October before we have to submit it. If that does not work, which I've done in the past, we will submit the audit and then you will approve it afterwards. And if we have to reconcile something, we will reconcile. But the goal would be to have the audit by October, but we don't control that. We just try to provide the information as quickly as we can. So,
Great.
that, nothing else, Madam President.
Great. So we'll go ahead and break for lunch and we'll be back at 1 p.m.
Save one for you or?
Great, welcome back to the Nevada State Board of.
We'll give you any, we don't have enough.
We're gonna go ahead and
Okay.
start this afternoon with a continuation of the budget report.
Thanks, Madam President. It's being passed out right now. Karen was able to get the ability to clear July and August, so we appreciate you giving us the time. As we print that out or pass it out, I want to remind you that just because we're giving you August doesn't mean that we won't find some expense in September that we need to go back and fix the August. So you don't have to approve these. We're required, and I think it's good that we provide these when we can at each board meeting. So we're just going to give you June and August, and then you're going to see a reflection of what we've budgeted in the future. I'm stealing her thunder a little bit, but we'll show to you that. Did you bring August? Okay, this is June.
It's just August. So August, carve off.
Okay, Karen likes to do this. So this isn't the August one, but it says July at the top, so it's August. That happens because she's in a hurry to bring them over to you. So we're talking about August. So at the upper left-hand side and for the public out there, we put copies. If you can just imagine that July 1st, or July 31st is August 30th. Then we'll be able to deal, or I guess August 31st. All right, so the one thing you'll see that as a general fact, when we end with, and you don't have to go look at this, but when we end with the last fiscal year, the column that is reserved will be brought up to beginning balance, and then you'll see that that number is very close. That said, there are variances like small bills that come in and those kinds of things. And so I think that that you've already approved the budget, so we're operating under that budget. We will still probably have we will have the issue of the payroll issue and that I talked to you about before, and the operating expense. When we do the next budget for the next year, then we will address that and get it in line to what we expect. But that, again, when we were doing that budget, we didn't know what we knew now, and now we know. So that's the thing. Karen May, I think she wants to point out some other things that she just wants to point out, so I'm going to give her the opportunity to do that.
Just when it comes.
Identify yourself for the record.
Karen Baines, Finance Manager. When it comes to like our expenses under the equipment and out-of-state travel, you see those zero numbers. It's because we just started the year off and there hasn't been any expenses that occurred for those two items. That's why they're zeroed.
Any questions about anything?
Questions?
Okay, appreciate you letting us do that and staying on time. Thanks,
Thank
Karen. I'm sorry I made you late for the.
No, thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you for the update. We're going to go ahead then and move on to our next agenda item, which will go to 6A and 6B. That's for advanced prosthetics and orthotics for both Henderson and Las Vegas. So if we have representatives here, if you could please raise your hand in Zoom.
Madam President, I think that's actually, it's gonna be Thursday tomorrow.
Oh, that one is Thursday. I'm sorry. Okay. Let's go to 7B. And 7B is ProSource Pharmacy. We have representatives from ProSource Pharmacy.
We're here.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi,
Hi, if I could have both of you state your full name and titles for the record.
I'm Jessica Hopper. I am Vice President of or Managing Member of ProSource Pharmacy.
And my name's Tate Berger, also Managing Member of ProSource.
That was Jessica Hopper and Tate Berger. Okay, great, thank you. I'm going to swear both of you in. We'll do it at the same time, but I'll need a separate verbal affirmation from each of you. If you join me in raising your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be both truthful and complete?
I do.
I do.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, and then with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Tucker.
Thank you, Madam President. Laura Tucker for the record. Before you is agenda item 7B, which can be found starting on page 4353 of the board book. This is an application for an ownership change of a pharmacy, BH Endeavors NV LLC, doing business as ProSource Pharmacy, and it's located in Las Vegas. So I see you've got, you said Tate Berger and Jessica Hopper here on the line. Is Victor Baraja the managing pharmacist on as well, or just the two of you?
Just the two of us. Victor is out on leave.
Okay. My first question for both of you is, why did you want to buy a pharmacy here in Nevada?
It was a good opportunity. The business is established but still growing, and so it's a good opportunity to have a pharmacy and do business in Nevada.
And are you planning on keeping the existing staff?
Yes.
And then I know both of you also own a pharmacy in Oklahoma. Can you tell the board a little bit about that pharmacy?
So that is Bristol Pharmacy in Oklahoma City. It is also a retail pharmacy, brick and mortar, independent. And we specialize or focus on dermatology, ophthalmology, and women's health products. Specialize in getting hard to otherwise get products to the patients for a reasonable price. And hope to extend that model in Las Vegas as well. Or Nevada in general.
Great, okay. Jessica, we can start with you since you've been doing most of the talking. Her work history and background is located on page 4375 of the board book. Jessica, can you just walk us through a little bit of your background and qualifications for your role as a pharmacy owner?
Sure. I guess to start in the beginning, graduated from the University of Wyoming in 2012 and did some residency training, and actually worked as a clinical pharmacist for up until June for the VA. As a pharmacist, also worked the bench at Walmart pharmacies, just floating weekends, holidays, and whatnot during that time. And then we purchased Bristol in Oklahoma in 2023 and have been owning and managing that pharmacy for the last couple of years.
Great. And Mr. Berger, your background and work qualifications are located on page 4378 of the board book. Can you just briefly give the board and your background and qualifications for your role as owner of this pharmacy?
Yeah, so I also graduated from the University of Wyoming in 2012. From then until recently, I worked retail for Safeway Pharmacy. Like Jessica said, we purchased Bristol in 2023 and been doing that ever since.
Okay, great. And then Mr. Berger, you have a few disclosures that you listed on the application. Those are located on pages 4382 to 4386 of the board book. And just briefly, you have some past legal issues with it's vandalism, DUI, disorderly conduct, public urination, entering property after notice. Does that accurately sum up the disclosures in the application?
Yes.
And I want to confirm that the DUI was dropped to a lesser charge because your blood alcohol content was actually within the legal limits.
That's correct.
Okay. And have you had any issues with drugs or alcohol in the past?
No.
No? Okay. I had a couple questions for the managing pharmacist, but I'm wondering if you both might know the answer to this. So both of you are PharmDs, but are either of you licensed in Nevada as pharmacists?
Yes, we both are.
You both are, okay. So do you know if the two of you, you're both going to be owners of this pharmacy in Las Vegas, but are you able to have a key to the pharmacy in Las Vegas?
Maybe a trick question.
This is a trick question.
I don't know why we're asking trick questions.
I'm sorry, I'm running through so many different states. I know I can't be picked because I don't have a residence there. But I don't know if the key issue doesn't stand out to me as a.
Okay. That's one of our favorite trick questions to throw up. And
You want me to answer the question?
Yeah, if you want to.
So if you're a licensed pharmacist and you identify yourself as working in that pharmacy, which you'll see when you do the pre-inspection, then you could have the key to the pharmacy.
Okay.
Most owners that are living in Oklahoma will not be able to have the key under Nevada law. Okay.
I don't have any further questions, so I submit it to the board for discussion.
Okay, great, thank you.
I have just one follow-up if I can do it from board staff. So glad you're both pharmacists, but if you can talk to me about, my name's Dave Weiss for the record. I think that people need help getting hard to find medicines at an affordable price. No doubt. But a lot of times we see gray market and other things, where people are getting the drug. So can you just talk about your business as it relates to how do you obtain hard to find medicines?
Not necessarily hard to find, but we do have contracts with manufacturers where we can offer discounted prices over what I guess you could find them for elsewhere.
Can you give an example of a medicine that you do a lot of?
Sure, like Opzelura is one that we do a lot of.
So it's not necessarily, I was thinking generics myself, like you were gonna be like is it a lot of generics too outside of that, or?
A lot of generics, but also some of the hard to get brand names.
Okay.
Or
And when you say hard to get, because you keep saying hard to get, and I said hard to get, but you're saying how widely distributed is what you're saying.
It's not hard to get from a pharmacy perspective. They're comes through normal distribution channels, but between the prior authorization process and coupons that are required and all of the extra hoops on the pharmacy side, they're challenging to get through your everyday CVS, Walgreens, big box stores, because they just don't have that level of customer service or the relationships with the manufacturers.
Okay, and they might be like, they don't want to stock them because they're expensive and they might not move them, so.
Yeah, they're not putting out $2,000 for a tube of Opzelura.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Matt. I just wanted to get clarity to that and make sure that when you're purchasing your drugs, they're only from wholesalers that are listed at the Board of Pharmacy website. It's currently down, but we can get you the link to the back door. I will point out that we discovered during lunch that Google has started to figure us out, right, Crystal? And now
Services verify that they Googled the Teachable website and they were able to complete it.
yeah, so the Google has figured out the way around the state website being down, and they've noticed that we've created a new link, and now they're pointing people to that link, which I guess is cool. I don't know if it's cool or not. So just only purchase from licensed wholesalers. That you can find that on our website, or you can contact the board staff. Thanks, Madam President.
Great, thank you. This is Helen Park. So just a clarifying question. I think earlier Ms. Tucker asked that if you're keeping all the current staff, and you said yes. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's it. I don't have any other questions. I think both being pharmacist owners, I would feel comfortable moving forward with the application.
I would agree. Adam Porth, for the record, I would move that we approve the ownership change for ProSource Pharmacy.
Freitas, second. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Porath, a second by Ms. Freitas. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. All right, we thank you for your time and we wish you all the best. All right, so next we'll move to agenda item 9A. Oh, no, not 9A, 11C. 11C for Jeffrey Keston. Dr. Jeffrey Keston, you are here, or if we have representatives for.
You here? And Madam President, I apologize for the advanced prosthetics. That's on me. I gave you the list, but there was a subsequent they didn't want to be, they couldn't appear today, so that's on me.
That's no
So
problem.
I apologize for that. We will see him tomorrow, hopefully. They're bringing him up, Madam President.
Thank you. All right, hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Sure, certainly. Could I have you state your full name for the record?
Jeffrey Keston.
Okay, Dr. Keston, will anyone else be joining you today?
No.
I'm going to go ahead and swear you in. If you could join me in raising your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to give will be both truthful and complete?
Yes.
Great, thank you so much. All right, and with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Zanino.
Thank you, President Park. This is an application by Dr. Keston for a registration to prescribe controlled substances. Dr. Keston seeks to prescribe Schedules 2 through 5. According to his application, he will, it looks like, maintain a practice in Las Vegas. He does have some disclosures, and Dr. Keston, I have some questions about those, and it's not my intention to be confrontational or adversarial, just some basic questions about your disclosures, and then I'll have probably some more general questions for you, and then the board may have some questions. First, let's just start with the general questions. How long have you been licensed to practice in Nevada?
I obtained my licensure on July 2nd of this year.
Okay. Where else are you currently licensed to practice medicine?
Nevada is the only state in which I'm presently licensed to practice medicine.
So you're no longer practicing in Colorado then?
That is correct.
Okay. So your disclosures suggest to me that that you served some prison time. Is that correct?
Yes.
When were you released? Was that in like January or February of 2024 that you were released from prison?
I was released on August 28 of 2022.
Oh, okay. So how much time did you serve?
5 months and 3 days.
Okay, so not the full 24. What have you been doing since that time?
I initially obtained a job with New Jersey Reentry Corporation and launched a new career in human resources. I obtained the highest level of certification in human resources, a SHRM senior certification. I worked there for about 1.5 years, and at that point I pivoted to my pursuit to reenter medicine.
Okay. So tell me about that. It looks like you're a psychiatrist, is that right?
No, I'm actually a physiatrist primarily. During my approximate 2.5 decades of practice, I was triple board certified in physical medicine and rehabilitation, pain medicine, and addiction medicine.
So what kinds of controlled substances do you anticipate prescribing in your practice?
Anything that might warrant appropriate pain management, as well as performing ketamine infusion therapy, which is a mainstay of Delft psychiatry.
So let me ask you about, because you do have a disclosure that relates to ketamine, right? The Colorado board, or the regulatory agency in Colorado, admonished you for overprescribing ketamine. Is that a fair characterization?
I did sustain a letter of admonition pertaining to a single patient, and again, I'd be glad to expound if asked.
Okay, tell me about that then. What were the circumstances surrounding that?
There was no problem with either the patient nor his father, who attended all visits with him. However, there was an adversarial relationship with his mom, who was not present for any visits. She submitted a complaint to the board, and that resulted in my letter of admonishment.
So when did you give up your license in Colorado? At what point was that?
I ceased practicing medicine in October of 2020. I believe it was that spring in which the license was officially retracted, but I gave up my license to practice in October of 2020.
That was voluntary on your part, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So tell me about the conviction. Looks like you were convicted because you were prescribing a particular medication to the exclusion of other medications, right? And you were taking money from the manufacturer.
I was receiving money legitimately through the speaker program. However, my charge involved me having entered into an implicit agreement to prescribe that particular brand of medication over other similar medications within that class. It's important to clarify that I never illegally distributed medications, nor was I alleged to have engaged in inappropriate or substandard medical care. With that said, I take full ownership of my actions, took responsibility, and entered a timely plea of guilty to those charges.
So you entered a plea of guilty. I assume you had like a plea agreement or a plea bargain in place when you did that, right?
Yes, sir.
You paid some restitution in connection with that as well. It sounds like,
Yes,
or
sir.
looks like. Those were all the questions that I have, Dr. Keston. I appreciate your candor. The board may have some questions for you, and I'll turn it over to them.
Members, questions for Dr. Keston?
Adam Porth for the record. Dr. Keston, are you on this CMS exclusion list currently, or are you free to bill?
I am on the CMS exclusion list for an approximate additional 24 months.
Okay. Are you currently practicing and just not prescribing controlled substances in Las Vegas?
No, if you will indulge me, I'll shed clarity on that scenario. As I expressed before, I pivoted to my attempts to re-enter medicine and was granted licensure in Nevada. So from the time that I voluntarily surrendered my license in October of 2020 until present, I've not been practicing medicine.
So this is Helen Park. So my question to you, Dr. Keston, is relating to your place of where you listed that you will be working. I don't know if you started there yet, but is it Dell Psychiatry? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then, so you will not be there as a psychiatrist, but rather pain management? Or could you tell us about what you plan to do there?
Yes, I will be there as a physiatrist performing both pain management services and treatment of substance use disorder.
Any additional questions for Dr. Keston?
Madam President, Dr. Keston, Yan Long for the record. It looks like your license, I think you got the letter of admonishment from Colorado. So you practice in Colorado, I'm understanding, is that correct?
Yes.
And why have you decided to move to Nevada and practice in Nevada?
As part of my agreement, albeit not my sentence with the state, that's the one state that I cannot commence practicing in again. So I was excluded from the state when I entered into an agreement, again, not as part of my sentence, but with my agreement with the Colorado Medical Board. And I had launched my pursuits to explore what opportunities were out there for me, and Nevada offered me an exceptional opportunity.
And were you licensed in any other states as a medical practitioner?
No, I practiced the entirety of my approximate 2.5-decade career in Colorado.
Okay, thank you.
I guess, oh,
Sorry, I just have one question. Well, did the medical board in Nevada place any restrictions on your license? Or
No, I
any
have.
other, sorry, any other additional requirements or anything?
No, I have an unrestricted license. The only condition of the license is that I participate in a 1-year preceptorship, and not as a result of my conviction, but simply resultant to my absence from the field for greater than 4.5 years.
So your new place of employment, you'll have a preceptor at that location, or is it another physician?
I will have a physician preceptor at that location.
Go ahead.
no, that's okay. This is more for discussion, I guess. The only, well, not the only, but one of the concerns I have is the letter of admonishment, and that the doctor will be prescribing that same medication in his new practice. And so I'm not sure if I feel comfortable or if I should be concerned, or if sounds like when Dr. Custon talked about it, it was more of a relationship issue between the patient's parents, but that is a point of concern for me.
Yeah. I guess, Dr. Keston, maybe you can describe for me. I'm a little confused on how the business model will work with you not having the ability to bill. How is that going to work in this practice?
Well, I will not be able to bill via OIG, but I'm exploring pursuits to bill via commercial insurance carriers and self-pay. So I'm only excluded for the federal programs, Medicare, Medicaid, and TRICARE.
Okay. And so you mentioned ketamine therapy. I'm assuming you employ multimodal pain concepts. Like, can you describe how you would utilize ketamine within your practice routinely?
Sure. My general practice paradigm in pain management has clearly been moving from a conservative to more aggressive treatment plan. So we certainly I certainly employ conservative measures from physical therapy, occupational therapy, chiropractic, massage, and so forth. And that's even prior to moving to any pharmacological management, regardless of medication classification. And then interventional management is clearly used or had been used in my prior practice, but will not be during my tenure, during my preceptorship at Delve. So I would not be performing fluoroscopically guided injections, although those were frequently utilized in my treatment paradigms. I will be performing peripheral nerve injections and peripheral joint injections, but again, not under fluoroscopic guidance. And for those patients who suffer from chronic pain conditions that are refractory to other measures, then I would contemplate prescribing ketamine. And those would involve generally neuropathic conditions. I've generally focused my practice on complex regional pain syndrome, with some patients also being treated who had phantom limb pain post-amputation and spinal cord injuries. But most of my patients were CRPS patients.
Yeah, if I can ask a question as well.
Yes.
Get along for the record. Dr. Keston, are you familiar with the laws in Nevada regarding the prescribing of controlled substances for the treatment of pain?
Yes, in the past several months, I've also taken greater than 200 CME courses, which relate to my fields of specialty. So I feel that I do have notable familiarity. I've also consulted with numerous practicing physicians within the state.
And one item that came to my attention is that you have enrolled with Mark Chase. Is that correct? Under the Nevada Professional Health Program's medical counseling?
That was essentially a backup. Dr. Chase has been an advocate of mine in my pursuit to reenter medicine in Nevada. And he suggested simply to facilitate or expedite, I should say, the process, should I be blessed to have an opportunity to move forward with the pharmacy board, that this would just not delay the process any further. But he did not mandate that I be involved. He simply suggested that we execute the agreement in case the pharmacy board mandated that be the case. I've never had a need to be monitored by any such counseling program. And again, Dr. Chase did not suggest that I would necessitate that, but presented that to me as I guess, just to be proactive in the process.
Thank you. Yeah, that was just something that came to my attention. Wasn't sure if it was because he had a substance disorder or anything.
Right, no, I appreciate you asking that question. So Dr. Custon, you don't have any substance use disorders. You just enrolled in the program with Mr. Chase as a proactive measure on your application? Is that correct?
Yes, in addition, not only have I not had or nor I presently have a substance use disorder, I've never been alleged to have such concerns. And my sentence pertaining to my criminal charge specifically noted that I do not need to submit to urine drug testing because I am not at risk for those concerns.
Madam President. It seems like we've been here many times where medical board is given physician is licensed and told him he could practice medicine. And then he has appeared before us. It seems like about the 10th time. And we want to put, not that we want to, but I don't see how we can put restrictions on him. Either you're going to let him practice his medicine and take a chance and let him have his license to that he's asking for as a board here, or we're going to say no. It'd be like telling a pharmacist, you could practice pharmacy, but you can't dispense these 700 medications. It's tough to do. Either we're going to take a chance with him or we're not. My feeling is he's done all the right things. He's paid his penalty. And what he paid the penalty for, prescribing a particular drug over other ones for a payoff, is not the same as abusing the drugs or abusing people or harming people. And I just think that if the medical board's willing to take a chance with him, I think the pharmacy board could, and maybe there's something that the staff would say, well, to be on the safe side, we could put him on probation or something, or, I mean, I don't know all the things that the staff says that we can do or this board can do, but I feel like we've got to give him a chance. If he abuses it, okay, take it away. But he'll lose everything if he abuses it, not only ours, but he'll lose the medical license also. But you just can't ask a person to this medicine or practice pharmacy and restrict them in such a way that he really can't practice.
Yeah, and I don't think that's what we're doing here. Yeah. We're,
I guess just, sorry, Adam Porth, for the record, just to build on Dr. Long's question, I do think it would be wise if we had some prescription drug monitoring program education, because he has not practiced in our state yet in regards to controlled substances, that we would include that.
I agree. I think that would be helpful. I mean, he's under the preceptorship for that reason, because he's been out of practice. He's new to Nevada. He's getting controlled substances. I would feel more comfortable with that in place as well.
Yeah, certainly we can have Darla do quarterly training with the prescription monitoring program, look at his prescribing within the PMP as well. So that is something we've done before in the past, and we can certainly implement it with this practitioner if we decide to issue him this license.
Any additional questions or comments, board members?
Again, Adam Porth, for the record, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the controlled substance application for schedules 2 through 5 for Dr. Jeffrey Keston.
We're going to mandate or training with Darla.
On the condition that mandatory education is done for the prescription drug.
Do you want it continually for the year, or just the?
I just think some initial training.
Okay, we can do that.
Crystal Freitas, I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Porath, a second by Ms. Freitas. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Great, we wish you all the best, Dr. Keston. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and I want to express my sincere gratitude to the board for your consideration. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great. Okay. All right, we'll move on to our next item, and that will be 11D for Melissa Case. So if we have Melissa Case online or in the room, if you could please raise your hand. Oh,
I'm here.
hi.
Online. Hi.
Online, I see. Okay, great. If I could have you state your full name for the record.
It's Melissa Ray Case.
Okay, in this case, I'm going to swear you in. If you could join me in raising your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be both truthful and complete?
I do.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, Ms. Tucker.
Thank you, Madam President. Laura Tucker for the record. Before you is agenda item 11D, which can be found starting on page 5016 of the board book. This is a controlled substances application from APRN Melissa Case. Hi, Ms. Case. I'm just going to go through your application with you and ask you a couple questions. And as you can see, the board might ask you some questions as well.
Sure.
First, just a general question. For the schedules, did you mean to click or to check for prescribing Schedule 1? Or
Oh, no,
is it-
I did not.
okay.
Sorry.
That actually happens a lot. So I just want to make sure that you didn't mean to check that.
No.
So it says on your application that you are going to be practicing at NAFCare at the Washoe County Detention Facility. Why are you looking to obtain your controlled substances license today?
So I currently work for NAFCare. I've been there for a year. We are a corrections medicine company, and we have several, multiple states that we cover, Nevada being one of them. And then we have several facilities in Nevada. The controlled substance part of my position, I work remotely. I live in Florida. The team that I'm on is what we call the Stat Care team. We are more of a remote urgent care ER stabilization team. So when inmates come into the facilities, most of them, many of them are already on opiates, alcohol. So our job is to take them off safely, and we're primarily prescribing like a 5-day Suboxone taper or possibly diazepam taper for alcohol or benzo withdrawal.
Okay, great. And then, so I want to go over, you had some disclosures on your application that I want to go through just briefly, step by step, with the board to give them an overview. For the board, if you her statement starts on page 5021 of the board book. So Ms. Case, just generally, you stated on your application that you voluntarily surrendered your RN license in Oregon and Florida in 2009 after receiving treatment for substance abuse. And then I'll just go through to sum up the statement that you included. That includes your entire story. So you said that in 2007 and 2008, you were in a travel nursing assignment in Oregon, and you began diverting and using narcotics at that time. And then in early 2008, you self-reported to the Oregon Board of Nursing and you entered a treatment program. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then after you exited that program, you said you started using again, and you went to your family for help and you entered another treatment program near the end of 2008 in Florida. Is that correct?
Uh-huh.
And then after exiting the treatment program, or after completing, the treatment program, you voluntarily surrendered your RN license in Oregon and also in Florida. It looks like reciprocal action in 2009. Does that sound correct?
I was still in treatment.
Okay.
And I started treatment in December. And then in January, I voluntarily surrendered my license in Oregon. I decided that I did not want to do nursing anymore. Did not want to be in that position any longer. And as a result of the surrender there, Florida kind of piggybacked off of that and suspended my license. I never surrendered that one.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for correcting that. So since, and then, it says that you decided to return to nursing, in 2011. And, so your license was reinstated in Florida. And you had to complete 5 years of monitoring, which you completed in 2015. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then you received your master's in family health nurse practicing in 2018. Is that correct as well?
Yes, that's correct.
Great. And you also said that you have successful completion letters of your monitoring and the terms of your probation in both Florida and Oregon for the Board of Nursing in both those states. Is that correct as well?
Yes.
Okay. Since you completed your treatment programs, have you been able to maintain your sobriety since then?
Yes. November 8th of 2008 is my clean date, so it'll be 17 years coming up this November.
Congratulations on that. Do you have any, so you have the completion letters in Florida and Oregon. Do you have any conditions on your nursing, any other conditions on your nursing license?
No.
And do you have any conditions on your nursing license in Nevada?
No.
Okay. Oh, and you mentioned that you are living in Florida, working remotely. So I'm assuming that means you've got a good support system helping you out in Florida.
Yes, I do.
Okay. I do not have any other questions, so I'll submit it to the board for any questions they may have.
Okay, great, thank you. This is Helen. Mark, I don't have any additional questions either. I think that was a very thorough line of questioning. Board members, any additional questions?
Just one, Ms. Case, you currently have a DA license, is that correct?
Yes, I have several.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Crystal Freitas, I don't have any other questions, so I'd move we approve the application for Melissa Case for prescribing of controlled substances.
Second.
Okay, there was a motion by Ms. Freitas. I'll give the second to Ms. Taylor. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. We wish you all the best.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, so for our next item, we'll go to agenda item 12 for the discussion and possible action for an advisory opinion. Do we have anyone here from Advanced Molecular Compounding? Is your line muted? Could you speak, sir? Oh, no, we can't. hear
Madam President, if you could do me one favor, if you could just take a quick break, I apologize for that. There's a couple things I gotta deal with. It's unrelated to this issue and then.
Sure. And then we'll work out the tech issue.
Yeah.
Right. All right, we'll take a quick break. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna resume with our agenda item 12. If we have our representative on, and could you speak for us, sir?
Yes, my name is Troy Cronut. I'm leading the way on this advanced molecular compounding coach project, which is a mobile gallium 68 coach.
Okay, great. Okay, and I'm glad we got your line unmuted. So I guess on this one, should I turn it over to Zanino or?
I think the first thing is, well, Greg can stay where it is. I think that it's just a position, it's a petition for an opinion. It didn't really go through the legal way to do it, but we honored it and did it. So I think that if you can give him his time, or if you want Greg, and then he can respond in, but I'd probably try to avoid a back and forth because the attorneys have already written the opinion.
Okay, I am getting some background noise. I don't know if it's us or, okay.
He's very garbled.
Yeah,
You can hardly hear him.
from our end, Greg sounds very garbled, so. David,
So
sorry.
I would just go to Greg first and he can give it, then they can say their piece and then you can make your ruling.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Mr. Zunino.
Thank you, President Park, Greg Zanino for the record. This is item number 12 on the agenda. This is a petition for an advisory opinion submitted pursuant to NRS 233B 120 and NAC 639-150. So the materials begin, the written materials begin at page 5041 of your board book. And I will note that page 5041 is an email transmission. So accompanying that transmission was a petition for an advisory opinion. That is at pages 5042 to 5045 of your board book. The email indicates that it was transmitted in June. However, I believe that this was transmitted to the board at some point, maybe in April. The chronology is a little bit unclear to me, but there were some communications, I think, with the board in early April. As a consequence of those communications, and it might have included the petition, I'm not sure, but and Mr. Kernot or Dr. Kernot will have an opportunity to correct me when it's his opportunity to speak. But as a result of some communications in April or late March, perhaps 2025, the board issued a cease and desist order. And that appears at page 5046 of your board book. And I think the board at that point, based upon the communications, was anticipating that that Dr. Kernot would commence operations with effectively a mobile pharmacy. So the cease and desist letter went out. We have no evidence that they were actually operating a mobile pharmacy at that point, but I think this was a precautionary measure. Dr. Kernot responded. That response appears at paragraphs, or rather pages 5047 through 5050 of your board book. And then I would note that there is a gap. So at page 5051, you'll see that Dr. Kernot addresses correspondence to me directly. That appears again at 5051. It says, "Dear Mr. Zanino." That is in response to a letter that I drafted dated August 8th, 2025. And that does not appear in your board book. However, Darlene sent you that by email yesterday, and I believe that she's also distributed paper copies. So you should have a copy of that. It's a letter from me dated August 8th, 2025 to Dr. Kernot. And it effectively sets forth the board's position at this point, or at least the board staff's position at this point. The board is free to amend this or correct it or direct us to issue a new opinion if it sees fit. I know that Dr. Kernot has an issue specifically with paragraph 1 of the letter dated August 8th, 2025. He has, he objects to the statement that the pharmacist would be compounding while the coach or the tractor trailer was in transit between destinations. He's represented that won't occur, that any compounding will take place while the vehicle is stationary, presumably located at some kind of designated location. And so I don't believe that changes the analysis. I think that whether they're compounding while the truck is in transit or if they're compounding while the coach is stationary, I don't think it changes the analysis. So I would submit that the paragraphs 2, 3, and 4 are unaffected by that. But I'll certainly give Dr. Kernot an opportunity to say his piece if that's something that you'd like to do, Madam.
Sure. And then just to clarify, we have Troy Kernot with us today, not Justin Kernot. Is that correct? Oh, both.
Sorry.
All right. Okay. Hi.
Hello.
Okay. So with that, I'll turn it over to either Mr. or Dr. Kernot in terms of any additional comments or your petition to the board today.
Very good. Thank you for meeting with us. We've actually been working or trying to work with the Board of Pharmacy since March 2024. We, we understand that that this might be a challenge. We understand that and we've constantly tried to interact with the Board of Pharmacy, and to the point where we really weren't getting very much information back and forth. And so we assumed that we would, without the lack of guidance from the Board of Pharmacy, that we just go ahead and use our compounding under medical immediate use. And at that point, on April 1, 2025, we received a cease and desist. I found it kind of funny that it occurred on April 1st, which was April Fool's Day, a cease and desist, which we weren't even doing anything, to be honest with you. And as Mr. Zunino said, that identified, we haven't been doing anything. We were just trying to get board approval for a mobile nuclear pharmacy. And if I could just elaborate on that a little bit, this mobile pharmacy only dispenses one drug, one radioactive drug. And as you're aware, this is Prostate Awareness Month. And this drug specifically identifies prostate cancer. It only has a 68-minute half-life, and so it can't be dispensed in Nevada and taken to Tonopah. Our goal is to have a mobile nuclear pharmacy that dispenses this one drug and takes it to these imaging centers that has scanners, and allows us to areas like rural Nevada to be serviced with this Tier 1 services. We also we note that we're not seeking exemptions or any exclusion on our path to trying to become licensed under NRS 639 and NAS 639. There are several paths to be licensed. I think that there's a misconception, which Mr. Zunino had just described, that we were trying to dispense while en route. Well, that's not the case at all. I currently own a mobile nuclear coach where we administer a radioactive drug and image patients. NAC 459 allows that happen because we identify the site as a VIN number. Our mobile coach is an actual VIN number that is licensed. Each location that we go to has to be identified. In many cases, that has to be licensed for that site. We can't image and dispense radioactive drugs into patients unless the Nevada Radiation Control gives us authority to do that. We were thinking that the same thing would happen with the Nevada Board of Pharmacy, that we would transport our mobile nuclear pharmacy from its locked and secured base location to a doctor's office or an imaging center that needs the radioactive drug, and at which time that would have to be licensed by the Nevada Board of Pharmacy. And so again, each site, and on top of that, just like the Nevada Radiation Control, we have to file a updated schedule at the beginning of every month minimally, or whenever it's changed, so that, for example, Nevada Radiation Control is going to inspect our mobile coach tomorrow. And they called and said, is it going to be at the location that you've described? And I said, yes. So we would assume something like that would occur as well with the Nevada Board of Pharmacy. Again, there is lots of crosstalk between agencies, just like the Nevada Board of Pharmacy will talk via 825, USP 825 with Nevada Radiation Control. So you have NAC 639 and NAC 459 cross-talking. You also do the same thing with the OSHA, the FDA, and the DEA, as well as the state fire marshals. I'm not sure, again, what the denial is really focusing on, and I think that that's why we were asking for a clarification. And perhaps, Mr. Zunino, as you described earlier, some aspects of what Justin, Dr. Kernot sent earlier, if you reviewed that, it really identifies pretty much everything in the cease and desist. So I'm here to answer questions and see if progress can be made.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Zanino, did you want to comment on anything before we move it to the board? I hear the feedback, sorry. Distracted.
Mr. Kerna, both of you guys have a thing. If one of you needs to mute yourself.
One of you needs to mute yourself. We're only on one.
Yeah, we only have one.
All right, we're getting feedback from you. Just
you can mute me until we're ready to speak again.
okay. Thank you.
I would just emphasize that the staff's position at this point is based upon a statute, that's NRS 639-230. And it states that each license must be issued to a specific person for a specific location. Pharmacy is defined to include a nuclear pharmacy. It follows that a nuclear pharmacy must be licensed by the board for a specific location. I don't believe that a motor coach or a semi-tractor trailer can reasonably be characterized under the law as a specific location. Just don't think we can license something that's mobile. And that's based on statute. So I don't think there are any other avenues or paths.
Just to provide clarity, Dave Weiss for the record, I mean, they have posed this question. They've posed it several times. I've told them that there's no way to license them, that it requires a law change. It may be a statutory change, it may be a regulatory change, but Greg's pointing to it's a statutory change. I've told them that they can come to every meeting at public comment and address you directly related to what their concern is. And as far as the cease and desist, because it's in there that they want it removed, they told us they were going to move forward because no matter how many times I told them I can't license it, that they were going to move forward. So that's the only tool that I have to tell them that that's not possible. And so having told them that they can't do it, I had to issue the cease and desist because there was no other way for me to document that in that way. So this requires a law change.
Great. So this is Helen Park, and in reviewing the petition, so Mr. Kernett and Dr. Kernett, I appreciate the information and the context and where you are trying to go, but within the current statutes, what you're asking for is not within the law. So regardless of your intentions and I think where you want to take your pharmacy, unfortunately, at this point in time, to me, it's clearly stated in our law that it needs to be a specific location. And so I don't see how this your mobile nuclear pharmacy can be licensed. So those are that's how I see it. I think it's pretty clear in terms of the language of our law. Now, it doesn't mean that in the future that cannot change, but as it currently stands, it would meet the definition of a pharmacy, and a pharmacy needs to be at a specific location.
So two questions that I have. Number one, other states that approve this, does that change the statute in Nevada?
No, it doesn't. If it's another state, it does not impact Nevada.
Okay. And secondly, are you stating that this requires rulemaking on the legislative level, or how do I go about changing that? I mean, we've been working since March 2024, so we're kind of in it for the long haul. So is this a rulemaking process, or is this on a local level with the Board of Pharmacy?
President, I would advise you to turf it back. I mean, I've explained this to him before and we can explain it to him again. So I don't think you're in a position to direct them on how that law would change, because there's a process both ways. So that it's up to them how they want to proceed.
Yes, it's a law change that needs to happen, Mr. Kermit.
So, so rulemaking is basically what you're saying. Understood. Okay, well, thank you for your time.
Well, I have a question, another question. What, sir, what state are you doing this in?
We have
All
developed,
Eventually, it'll be all 50.
right,
Every state, this, because 95% of America is rural. So this is for rural America.
right.
Yeah, but who,
Hold on, can you identify yourself for the record? Because we can't see on the camera.
Dr. Justin Kernot.
Thank you.
doctor, well, I'm just asking, what state licensed you to do this, the mobile pharmacy?
Currently, we've been working exclusively in Idaho because that's where the coaches are produced. And we've been working with the Idaho Board of Pharmacy on this. Matter of fact, we're meeting with them on September 18th with our group of expert witnesses for the same thing. Different reason. They want to assure that our mobile pharmacy is up to 820 USP 825 standards. That's it. They've already accepted the fact that it can be mobile. They've already accepted the fact that it can be taken across Idaho.
Have they licensed it?
They have not, and that's why we're meeting with them on September 18th.
Thank you for your answer.
Do we need a motion or?
I think it's an actionable item. I think from board staff, I think that puts the final clarity on it. We will, like anybody else, continue to work with anybody that wants to do business in Nevada and help them, but we are not in a position to run the business for them, which I say all the time. So they'll have to know the law, follow the law, and operate inside the law.
Okay. All right. So motion to approve the advisory opinion from Board of Pharmacy, Susan.
I think
If I can just say something, I would leave it the way it is. Statement one, there was no issue related to whether they were doing it when it was moving or not moving. They could not have the license. I think that's what Greg thought he heard them say they were doing. I don't think that we've already provided it to them. They know they need to go change the law. If you think that we need to change it, it still is, that's still true. The opinion is still true.
That's what I'm trying to make a motion on doing.
Yeah, so the agenda item is discussion of possible action on request for an advisory opinion. So they're asking for an advisory opinion. So that's the request.
And it is in front of you.
I think what you could do is you could make a motion to direct the executive secretary to issue an advisory opinion consistent with the letter that I drafted dated August 8th, 2025, with clarifying changes to paragraph 1.
Okay, that helps to clarify. So we'll make a motion.
Is that you making the motion?
This is Helen Park. I'll make the motion to direct Executive Secretary Weiss to accept the advisory petition as written by Mr. Zunino.
Second.
Okay, so motion by Helen Park, second by Adam Porath. Any further discussion?
I know Greg, so he may want to tidy it up. So as long as you're fine with the essence of it being what it is, Greg will force himself to tidy it up.
All right. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. We thank you for your time and for speaking with us today. Appreciate it.
You'll be seeing us. Thank you.
Yeah, good luck. Thanks.
Thanks. All right, we'll move to agenda item 6D for Fix My Oxygen LLC. We have representatives for Fix My Oxygen LLC.
Yeah.
Hi, good
Hi, guys.
afternoon. If I could have you state your full name and title, please.
Yeah, my name's Ken Beasley, or Kenneth Beasley, respiratory therapist.
Great. Will there be anyone else joining you today?
No, I was gonna have my other guy that's on the application, but we guys moved it up till today, so he's not able to be here.
Okay, are you okay with that? Otherwise, we could do it tomorrow.
No, I'm good. I mean, he's Armenian accent. He's not really good with English, so he'd probably have a hard time communicating.
And the president, I may have some questions for the owner though, and Mr. Beasley may be able to answer them on behalf of the owner.
Okay, that sounds good. Mr. Beasley, I'm gonna go ahead and swear you in. If you could join me in raising your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be both truthful and complete?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Madam President, Dave Weeks for record, before Yen jumps in, if we can just set the ground rules. So, I mean, at any given time, you can table it or he can table it till tomorrow. So if there's a question that you're not comfortable answering, you should only answer the questions that you know the answer to. If you don't, we'll finish up tomorrow if we can. So you're not under the gun to finish right this minute. And you should just answer the questions that you actually know the answer to.
That's fine. I should be
Yep.
okay.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
All right, Yen Long for the record. Mr. Beasley, my name is Yen. I'm a staff member. I'm going to ask you a few questions regarding your application, which begins on page 4303 of the board book. So this is Fix My Oxygen. They are applying for a license to provide respiratory equipment to Nevadans. Description. The MDEG administrator is Mr. Beasley, and the sole owner is Parapet Gauzion. Is that correct, Mr. Beasley?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a few questions for you regarding the business. You will be supplying respiratory equipment. What kind of respiratory equipment will you be providing to Nevadans?
So it's very simplified. It's more of a service to concentrators and portable concentrators and CPAPs. I'm not a DME company. I'm not trying to be a DME company. It's more about servicing equipment for customers that maybe don't have access to a DME company that already provides that to them.
Okay, so you'll be servicing equipment, respiratory equipment on kind of behalf of other DME companies that won't be able to service them. Is that correct?
Yeah, so like customers that maybe don't have insurance or no longer contracted with DME company, or maybe purchase something outright, like the Energens, those usually a cash pay item. Insurance don't typically cover.
And so I'm kind of curious. So it's based on your application, you will be supplying these equipment, or you will be servicing these equipment by prescription. So how will that occur? How would prescribers understand that this is your business model and provide a prescription to a patient to go to Fix My Oxygen for you guys to then service the equipment?
So I don't believe I need a prescription to service their own unit. I believe I need a prescription if their unit is no good and I had to offer to provide a replacement or, sell them one.
Okay, so then I'm just going off of your application. That's what you indicated, was that you will be providing equipment through prescriptions. Okay, so you will, in addition to servicing equipment, you'll be prescribing or providing equipment by prescriptions as well to patients. Is that correct?
If needed to replace or provide for a patient, yeah, they could give prescription and we could fill it for that item.
Okay, and can you tell me, and you may not know the answer to this question, but why did the owner decide to open a MDEG, or a medical equipment and device and gas business in Nevada?
It's more background with me wanting to help in a different manner under my respiratory license to reach more people. We both have experience in DME stores and providing service like that in the past. So now we're just trying to narrow it down a little more exclusive to just the oxygen devices.
Okay, and how do you know the owner?
We've been friends many years. because I'm respiratory therapist and they've dealt with medical stores providing respiratory items. So I've consulted and helped them with patients in the past.
Okay, so, so the owner, Mr. Augustine, he owned a medical equipment business in the past?
I believe his family did. He's primarily job is engineering, so he'll be my service technician. I'm technically going to be the one overseeing everything with the patients, the hands-on stuff for patients or
Okay.
customers.
And I noticed in your application that this won't be your only job. It looks like you work full-time at Centennial Hills Hospital as well, 40 hours a week. And then you are also a contracted employee with Optogen Medical DME, is that correct?
Right. So I have a fixed schedule, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3/12s. And then that gives me a 4-hour weekend bonus. And then my home care contract is as needed, maybe 1 or 2 deliveries a week. So I'm very open Monday through Thursday. And this is going to be like appointment only style service.
Okay. Yeah, it says in your application, you're open 10 to 5, Monday through Friday, and Saturday, 10 to 2 p.m. So you're saying that those are not your operating hours?
They'll be operating hours for the appointments.
Okay. And as you know, there are.
I just want to make sure I can be there for them. You know what I mean?
Okay, I see. And it is mentioned in our regulations and statute that you work 40 hours as an MDIG administrator, or as long as the company is open to the public. So will you be at the facility 40 hours a week?
Yes, I can make that happen.
Okay. And you will continue working with Centennial Hospital and Optogen, as well as at this new employment, if it's approved?
Optogen is more like after hours. And then, yes, if it's approved, obviously this is brand new business, so don't seem like it's going to be too busy at the moment, but I always had the ability to step down to part-time if I have to, if the business requires more of my time.
And you're a respiratory therapist with these other 2 employers, is that correct?
Yes.
And will you be referring business to Fix My Oxygen through these other employments?
No, it's against protocol.
Okay, thank you. Good answer.
Questions?
And so this is, like you said, you're kind of focusing on like concentrators and CPAP and servicing equipment. How do you guys plan to build your business and gain clientele?
Well, we are waiting to go through this process, but we will create a website and then advertise through social media and or website. Try and use word of mouth around town to get people to start coming in.
And I noticed in your application first page, it's required that you list a contact person and a phone number if you supply respiratory supplies. In case there's an emergency need for servicing of those supplies, will you be providing 24-hour service, 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week customer service if they need it for emergency servicing of their supplies?
So, yeah, I can provide that. That's not a problem. The majority of people that have a DME company already have that supply system in place. It wouldn't come to us if they're already with a company.
Correct, but if you are going to supply the actual DME, you will have that as a service?
Yeah, if necessary, that's not a problem. That's why I'm here. It's an issue with the patient and they need their oxygen. That's why I'm here.
Perfect. We've had issues in the past where DME companies did not provide service quickly to patients. I just want to make sure that wasn't going to be an issue.
Yeah,
so Madam-
I mean, I've been on call 24/7 for many years for that reason. In case a concentrator stops working in the middle of the night.
Sure, thank you. That's all the questions I have, Madam President. I'll turn it over to the board.
Great, thank you. I don't have any additional questions. Board members, any additional questions for Fix My Oxygen?
No additional questions. Crystal Freitas, I'd move we approve a new application for new MDEG Fix My Oxygen LLC.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Freitas, second by Mr. Porath. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. All right, we wish you all the best, Mr. Busey.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We'll move on to our next agenda item. That'll be great. So we'll move to agenda item 8A for Avrio Pharmacy. We have representatives from Avrio Pharmacy. Could please let us know through Zoom or.
Today is full of surprises, Joseph.
Good afternoon. This is Keith Barron with Avrio Pharmacy here.
Hi, good afternoon. Is there anyone else that will be joining you today?
Not today. We tried to get Hannah Johnson, our pick on the line, but she's in the sterile lab today. So I think I'll be able to handle the communication for our pharmacy.
Same rules apply. If you get a question you can't answer, please let us know. We'll table it till tomorrow and then you can have that person be there.
That sounds great. I know she did a sterile interview maybe a week ago or so. Already. So.
Okay, and then if you could please state your name for me once again.
It's Keith Barron.
And Mr. Barron, I'm going to swear you in if you join me in raising your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide will be both truthful and complete?
Yes.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Dodge.
Thank you, Madam President. This is an application for an out-of-state pharmacy change of ownership. On the application, they selected that they are performing non-sterile and sterile compounding. As Mr. Barron alluded to, I did have a pre-board meeting interview with Hannah Johnson from the location that occurred on August 5th. So it was about a month ago. I'll give you an overview and Mr. Barron can confirm some of the information. The reason why they're appearing today is due to a disclosure, so we'll talk about that afterwards. Mr. Barron, just wanted to confirm, when I spoke with Ms. Johnson on August 5th, she stated that your company has never shipped any sterile product into Nevada, and at this time there was no intent to ship any sterile product into Nevada. Is that still accurate?
Well, there's definitely intent to ship into Nevada, but as of today, our business practices, patient population have been non-sterile prescriptions that we've serviced in Nevada. To today, no sterile products, but I believe our application is requesting, our sterile compounding license as well for the ability to service patients there.
Correct, and it definitely was listed on the application for sure. And your last Arizona Board of Pharmacy inspection was Halloween of 2024, is that correct?
That was our last inspection. We had the board here for change of ownership in the state of Arizona. Once the Arizona board approved that, we had an on-site inspection. They have to go through like you're opening a new pharmacy and things like that, but it's not a full inspection at that point. They use a different application form. But so yes, October 2024. Yes.
Great, and there were no significant follow-up issues that were identified on that inspection report, correct?
Correct.
And you guys are currently performing Category 2 compounding at your location with the
That's correct.
possibility you may move to Category 3 in the future?
That's correct. Yeah, we're exploring what would make sense. Obviously, with the latest publications and USP chapters for sterile compounding and non-sterile, beyond use states and being able to service patients and things like that. We're just identifying any products that may be beneficial for category 3 and if it's financially suitable for us to pursue that. So currently category 2 only. Yeah.
Great. And every product that you would ship would be direct to patients, correct?
Yeah, yeah, we're 503A, all patient-specific prescriptions, yes.
And Ms. Johnson advised me that she had been at the location for 11 years. Does that sound correct?
I joined in 2018. She was the first pharmacist employee from my knowledge, so she was before my tenure.
Great. And she advised me that there's one pharmacist and one technician that performs all the sterile compounding. Is that still correct and accurate?
Correct.
Okay. And she did advise me that you're compounding GLP-1 combination products. Can you talk a little bit about the statement of significant difference and how you administer that at your location?
Yeah, I mean, obviously as far as pharmacies compounding GLP-1 medications, we definitely weren't the first, and we weren't early on doing that. I know there's some pharmacies that really hit the ground running with that. I think we have always fulfilled the patient need during FDA shortages, whenever the appropriate base formulation of any of the GLPs was available to source, go through proper testing. So really, we've kind of seen it as, even though medical necessity hasn't always been required during the FDA shortages, we've always treated it like that, almost as a pharmacy versus maybe some others out there. So really, just following FDA guidance with providers, anyone that does believe there's medical necessity to have a patient-specific compound for any GLP medication, we do require documentation from the provider on that prescription. If that documentation is provided and we think it's sound-based, then we could move forward with compounding or dispensing a product to that patient and nothing otherwise. So, yeah.
Great. That's exactly what I was looking for, and that's the information that Ms. Johnson had given to me as well. So regarding the ownership change, just a couple confirmations. There's been no changes in your staffing based upon the ownership change. Is that still accurate?
Correct. Yeah, no changes in staffing. Yes.
No changes in product lines that you guys provide based upon the ownership change?
Correct. No changes.
And no changes in your policies and procedures based upon the ownership change?
Correct. No changes.
Okay, great. So we'll get into the reason for the ownership change, and hopefully you have some information that you can provide to us on this. So the prior owner, Raif Hamid, if I'm saying that correctly, was convicted of conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud and wire fraud on September 5th, 2024. Are you familiar with that?
I am familiar with that, yes.
Okay. And then the response that was sent to the board, it stated that the prior owner, his conviction was not related to the pharmacy in Arizona. It was for ownership interest in other pharmacies. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it was ownership interest in, I believe, maybe 5 or 7 other pharmacies in Michigan and Ohio area. I'm not exactly sure the location, but that's the areas I believe that they were in. And pharmacies that Mr. Hamed had owned, prior to opening up originally All Care Pharmacy or Avrio Pharmacy, DBA in 2014. So nothing that Avrio has ever been a part of or business relationship with. And yes, the case had nothing to do with Avrio Pharmacy itself.
And none of the other pharmacies were located in Arizona, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, I believe they were all in Michigan or Ohio, if I know the information correct.
And what was Mr. Hamid's participation in the ownership for Avrio? Was he an on-site owner? Was he a silent owner?
Well, he was 100% owner, so he was on site. I think early on in the operation, he was the original pharmacist that opened up the location, and this is speaking from what I've heard or known as far as how the company's grown or developed over the years. When I joined on, he was more of CEO role owner, kind of managing the business side of things, but not necessarily hands-on in patient interactions and dispensing and things like that. And obviously, as of today, no role in the pharmacy anymore.
And is the ownership change that you submitted to the Nevada State Board of Pharmacy based upon that conviction?
I believe it partly would have to do with that, yes.
Do you know if that was mandated by law that he not own a pharmacy?
I mean, that I'm not sure. I know that he was seeking counsel with a local law firm, Herrick Quarles and Brady, that was advising him on throughout the process since maybe the original charges in 2020, because it did take 4 or 5 years before it went to trial. And from my knowledge, there's still an appeal processing with the court system that's pending review for that. But I think it was advised, and because at one point, you know, he is a pharmacy owner, pharmacist as well, things like that, I think selling the business was what made sense. As if there's a certain law that is referred to, I'm not, off the top of my head, I'm not aware of if that was the reason.
And I believe in the documentation that you sent to us, you also noted that Mr. Hamid had relinquished his pharmacist license in Arizona. Is that correct, as far as you know?
Correct. Yeah, I believe you can find even on the Arizona Board of Pharmacy website, information on that. But I know during the course of the proceedings, notifications to the board back in 2020, all the boards let them know. And I believe once there was a final conviction, he was either suspended or voluntarily surrendered or things like that, and then maybe fully revoked once the jury came up with their response in the trial. That's from my knowledge. So yes.
And did Avrio have to appear in front of the Arizona State Board of Pharmacy for the ownership change?
We didn't have to appear in front of the board, but I know that there was a long process. We did have the on-site inspection with the inspector here, things like that, which is part of their process. I know they have their own due diligence process as far as like screening the new owner, making sure everything is passing from their eyes, and there wasn't anything that I'm aware of that was an issue at the time. And I think as of beginning of July, whenever we received the approval for that, had our on-site inspection, and a new license was authorized.
Great. Are there any conditions on the pharmacy license in Arizona at this time?
No, no conditions on our license.
And who is the new owner for Avrio Pharmacy?
Salim Soufan.
And is that person the sole owner?
He's the sole owner, yes.
And is there any relationship between the prior owner, Raif Hamid, and the new owner?
No, not family, not blood, things like that. If they knew each other in the past, potentially, but nothing more than that.
Did they have common ownership in any of the pharmacies in the past that you're aware of?
Potentially. I believe they may have, yes. But once again, nothing that I am more aware of than that.
And the new owner did not have any issues related to committing healthcare fraud or wire fraud in connection with Mr. Hamid and his other pharmacies that he owned in different states?
From my knowledge, no. I mean, Avrio Pharmacy has a great name. We have a great facility. We're proud of what we do here. I think it was probably a good opportunity for Mr. Soufan to take on an operation like Avrio, honestly. And I know this isn't here to represent the previous owner, things like that, but I think all of that that came to light was a shock to everyone that may have known him or things like that, because that's not what we've ever seen here and things. So obviously, to my understanding, Mr. Soufan had no issue with that, especially because it was related to Avrio Pharmacy. The ownership is related to Avrio Pharmacy, not what the convictions were related to.
And does the new owner live in Arizona?
He lives in Florida.
And what's his involvement in the business since the ownership change has taken place?
Him and I talk pretty much every day, getting things in order and in line. Both myself and Hannah Johnson are run the day-to-day operations here at Avrio. Everything works pretty smooth. There's not, outside of having a new ownership and things like that, as far as our patient services and our operations and the way we kind of do business in pharmacy is not changing. So it's not a big hurdle outside of maybe getting aligned on him understanding our business more and more every single day as a new owner. And we communicate via email, phone calls, pretty regularly to stay in the loop. He's been in Arizona, travel in if he needs to and things like that as well.
And is the billing for Avrio done locally at your pharmacy in Arizona?
Yes, everything occurs out of our location here in Scottsdale.
Can you just discuss like your billing program? Do you have a billing manager who's in charge of that process? Is it all online adjudication?
Billing for like prescription claims?
Correct.
Most of our business today is through compounding is not being billed through insurance, especially for veterinary prescriptions. But we use, general dispensing software, Pioneer RX, and all of our billing for claims are immediate in the moment, just as like a standard retail pharmacy would adjudicate in the moment. So our technicians are doing most of the claims processing.
And for the compounding portion, it's mostly a cash business at this point?
Mostly, yeah.
Great. Thank you for your time today. The board may have some further questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Board members, any additional questions for Avrio?
You asked all the questions I was gonna ask.
Do
Sorry,
that.
Dick.
Yeah. Okay, I don't have any additional questions either.
I would move that we approve the ownership change application for Avrio Pharmacy.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Porak, a second by Ms. Carr. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. The ownership change has been approved. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do we have any other agenda items for today? I think that's all that I.
Just one. And you know what it is.
Right, so then as our final order of business, we'll open up the floor for any public comment. If we have anyone in the room who wishes to make a public comment, please come forward. Or if we have anyone online, please feel free to raise your hand on Zoom or let us know through the chat.
Not seeing anyone. I thought Mitch was going to, but I might, if I mention his name 3 times, he shows up, so I don't want to.
All right, I don't see anyone either who wishes to make a public comment, and I don't think we have anyone online. So with that, we'll close the period for public comment for today, and we will reconvene tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Thank you.